Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mornings with Nate. This has already been a very interesting morning for me, and one of the things that I really like to do that you hear me talking a lot about is I like to engage the people. The format of this show is kind of a two-way talk format. It's my hope that the show runs from 6 to 9, as you all know, who've been watching me for a little while, Monday through Friday. And my hope is that on this show that I can get people to click in to the link that I provide every day on my page on the We. The We is the umbrella in which I broadcast under, and the We123 is the username. But don't go there today. I'm going to tell you about it because you know what we're trying to do is to really engage you. We don't want to be like those other shows that come on early in the morning, as you well know, where it's just somebody like me and it's just kind of talking the entire time. And although that's what's going to be the case this morning, and I'll tell you why. We want you to kind of click in or comment in. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way from the point of view of the comments. Let me raise this up a little bit so I can see it. And I'm going to explain that as well. The this morning was kind of an interesting morning in general. Although as I explained to many of you, to kind of make a show happen at 6 in the morning, at least for me, because this is coming out of a studio, and I have to get to the studio. So what I do each morning is I'm usually out of my bed at about 3:15 in the morning, and then I try to be out the door by 4:15. Unlike days in which I got like this morning, I kind of ironed my shirt a little bit. Takes a little time. Tried to do it the night before, but didn't do it. So a little bit of time taken in doing that, and a couple other things this morning. So I actually got a few minutes late start. Now, for me, that's kind of important because what I try to do in making this happen is I'll stop by this diner that I like stopping by. And the reason I stop by a diner is that what I found is that everything else is closed at that time of the morning. But because I was running late this morning, that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week diner would have caused me to spend more time there kind of waiting on my order, even though I call it in before I get there. You kind of still wait. It's a rare time that it's actually ready when I get there. But I do enjoy talking to people when I get there. If it's not ready, I just kind of talk to people for a little while until it's ready. And the food is fantastic. And, I try to say, well, let me get a little fuel inside of me before I start going this morning and, doing my thing. Because I have a fairly long day. My day will probably end at about 8 p.m. tonight. And then I'll, go home, do a little something, go to bed, start again, 5 days a week. But this morning, couldn't really stop at the diner because it would have made me that much more late than what I wanted to be in getting here and getting things up and rolling. And this whole live stream thing is quite an adventure. In technology and other things and guests and just coordinating, making sure everything happens. Even for someone with me like me with a tech background, I'm trained in servers and virtualization, a lot of other tech subjects. So, I pretty much can make it happen. And today was kind of a test of that in trying to make it happen. So just to continue on with my story, of course, I got to my car and I saw, and here I broadcast out of Baltimore, Maryland, and it is cold here in Baltimore, Maryland. It's 25 degrees today when I got in the car, and that was a warm day. There was a little light coating of snow, so I was wondering, how much I was going to have to deal with that coming out the door, but praise God. When I turned on my windshield wiper and just kind of knocked out the snow, I was ready to go. And so, I'm heading to work, and I'm hoping that I can find some place on the way to work where I can get a little snack, get a little something to kind of fuel me, and as I kind of do my thing here this morning. And of course, the McDonald's arches are nice and bright, but when I pull in there, the inside is dark. Same thing with Burger King, closed. And then I'm hoping that, against hope, that maybe Dunkin' Donuts might be open a little earlier today. Same thing, closed. And I said, well, maybe it's just not to be this morning. That's another thing that I should kind of do in my little preparation thing. Because what I plan to do, which I will at some point today do, is a lot of times in the mornings, especially before I started doing this, I start my day out with some Honey Nut Cheerios. I would get my Honey Nut Cheerios and I would put almond milk in it. Now, I like it. That might be nasty to people. I get the sugar almond milk. sweetened almond milk. And I put a little in there, you know, and so it's kind of an almond milk honey nut Cheerios, and I am good to go. You know, I take a little multivitamin in the morning, but I didn't take one this morning because they say you should have something on your stomach before you take vitamins. Didn't get a chance to eat. So, but now in the spirit of preparation for the future, I'm going to have that. I'm going to go here in the studio refrigerator, and I'm going to put some almond milk in the cabinet. I'm going to put my own personal Honey Nut Cheerios, just in case a situation like this runs where I really want to try to get here, because I know how things happen in the morning. And praise God, that is exactly what happens. So when you come here, there's a lot of things to a production that you got to coordinate. And I'm going to get into the news, by the way, but I'm going to tell you about this. You got to coordinate the sound, the lights. I got multiple cameras. If you look around, I got like 3 computers, a laptop, three computers and a tablet, and it's all rolling, all interconnected, to make it happen. Like I'm staring at 2 cameras, and and they're going to different places and all of that kind of stuff, which leads me to what I was going to talk about, which is, I normally will direct you to the We page, although we broadcast out on other pages as well, my personal page, which some of you might be seeing me on my personal page this morning. I'm surprised, Mr. Earl, if you're not up yet, that you haven't texted me that the We page is not rolling. I'm going to tell you why. And the We page, one of the things that I really love doing is this split screen technology that allows me in the mornings when I come in, I get each day a separate web address to give you to click on, and if you click on that web address, you can join me on the broadcast. And I kind of like that if you click on that web address, you join me on the broadcast. That's what we're doing with the whole two-way talk kind of thing. But the software that I make that happen with is in the cloud. And I'm a big believer in the cloud. In the cloud, it makes a lot of sense. You can kind of log in from anywhere when you're in the cloud. And on my right side, the software that makes that happen, that connects me to the cloud and all, is there. But the actual software itself is in the cloud. It's not on this computer. But that is the software that connects me to my my We page, the We page that you see, the We123, and that user page, and so on and so forth. So this morning when I get in, I click on everything and get things rolling, because I know things do happen. And I feel like I'm like a tech MacGyver, for those of you who remember MacGyver. Before you know it, I'm slinging wires, I'm under the table, I'm trying to, do what I have to do to make it happen. So I said I'd broadcast at 6, and at 6 o'clock, I'm going to broadcast. So I turn on the one computer that connects me to the cloud. And I do what I normally do. I do this 5 days a week. And all of a sudden, I get a message. I can't reach the cloud. Something called the DNS server won't resolve. I won't get into that. But the bottom line is, I can't reach the cloud. Okay, let me try again. Can't do it. And then I try on another computer, on these other computers. Still can't do it. All right. What does that mean? That means I don't have access to the split screen stuff. And I don't have access to getting comments from you that way. And the broadcast is not going out. I'm kind of checking. I got the We on one page here. It doesn't look like the broadcast. It's kind of possible that it could go out under the We, but it doesn't look like it's happening just yet. And if it's not happening yet, it's probably not going to happen. Although, in the spirit of faith here, I'm going to refresh that and see if anything good will happen on that, because I know I'm broadcasting, because I have other ways to get out other than the cloud. So for those of you who are thinking about live streaming, and we certainly will be more than happy to help you. I want to help people get out there, and we're kind of talking about doing that. I'll put out my email address. Again, if you have a pencil handy, you're interested in talking to me about live streaming and creating your own show. It's Nate, N-A-T-E, at thewe, WHEWE.world. And that's it, Nate at thewe.world. And that will hit me on the email, and I will be able to get back to you. So, the interesting thing, though, is so I see that I am now not able to connect to the cloud, which means that the broadcast looks like it's not going out. It's going out every place except for the We page. So what does that mean? So immediately I have a little Facebook contact with the company that does the cloud software and all that. So immediately I get on, I'm sending them a message, right? Still, clock is ticking. 6 o'clock, we got a broadcast, right? And so I send him a message over the instant message connection we have, and he gets back to me, and I send him what is happening, because I've checked it. Before I send a message, I've really gone into it. I've checked it. I've run the diagnostic tool and all of that to see what the issue is, because I'm now thinking I need to how we're gonna make this thing happen, because there's a whole another way I gotta kind of set things up if it's not going to happen that way. So, and then I realized I got to go to my backup, right? So backup means it's a second camera. I got to get out the bag, and I got to set up and hook to the internet and link in a number of different ways that camera gets linked in, and just be prepared that if indeed it's not going to happen the way it normally happens, then I need to roll my backup, because the show must go on. And that's that Virgo in me. So so the guy, he gets back to me as customer service people seem to do. The first thing that he wants to do is to say it's my fault, that there's something that's happening here that is causing us to not be able to link in. And of course, I know that's not the case. But he says, well, open it in another browser. Can you start it over and all? Before I call you, I've restarted my computers. I've done it. I've tested it on other computers. It's not working. It is on your end. I can't access the cloud, and it is on your end. So now, mind you, that computer stuff is that I have that allows me to do the split screen and all that. That's all in the cloud. What I'm broadcasting on right now is on my computers. I've downloaded my computers, is on my stuff, which is kind of interesting. On this side, I'm in the cloud. On this side, it's all on my stuff, and my stuff is working, and my stuff is broadcasting. That is not to say that I couldn't have an issue, I couldn't get hacked or anything like that, which is kind of what I think happened to their system. That somewhere along the line, something happened, and probably someone has hacked them. So, but they don't want to own up to that right away. So, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of time to be interplaying with back and forth messages and checking this and checking that, although I do it with him. But I've got to, set up the second camera. I've got to hook it in. I've got to test it out. If you notice, the graphic was a little different today. I got to bring the graphic into another computer, all stuff like that. So, meanwhile, he's asking me to send him. He's going back and forth with me, customer service. And then finally, he asked me to send him a screenshot of the problem. So now, okay, I got to bring it up because I don't have the message service on each of the computers. I just have it on the one. So I have the message service. I take the screenshot, I send it to him, and then he ends up saying, finally, I'm going to send it to the technical department and have them work on it. Why didn't you do that in the first place? Who am I talking to? This whole thing, yeah. So that was kind of interesting, but praise God, because I was running a little late and I just came straight in here, didn't get anything to eat, I had time to do what I had to do, to kind of get it together, so at least I can broadcast on what I have on my equipment. And the stuff that's in the cloud, hopefully it'll start working later in the day. We've got Donnie's show that kicks off at 10 o'clock. I know he's got a very special guest. But yeah, if it doesn't, then we'll be broadcasting on this end and not on the We page. We won't be able to take live questions and things that we certainly like to do. But it all is, to me, just in just looking at the live stream networking and what you want to do if you want to have your live stream show. And again, we really want to help you to do that in addition to what we do. So if you contact me again at Nate, N-A-T-E, at thewe.world. See, that's why we got the map. We're like going world, .world. Then I'll get that email and we can talk a little bit about it because I'm fortunate to be both the talent and the producer. So I enjoy producing things for other people. So normally when I'm not here as talent, then I'm strictly producer, and I really enjoy doing that. And on top of which, I was trying to, Daisy, if you're out there watching, to really get my tea going. And so all's well that ends well. That a little sweating a little bit. The although we are not, from what I can see, at least not yet, broadcasting on the We page, nope, doesn't look good. We are broadcasting on every other page, which I can see by looking to my left to see the cameras that are there. So that's kind of a little evolution of the morning and an evolution of just issues and why it's so important to a lot of folks are kind of just hooked into one way of getting out there to you. And I do think that if you have the ability, especially if you're in the production business like we are, and helping others produce their shows, that you have more than one way to kind of get the message out there. That in addition to having the cloud services, which are great, what that allows me to do is that any computer anywhere in the world, I can kind of leak into that service and make it happen. Yeah, and that's great. The other part is that what I have embedded on my computers means I got to have that computer with me to launch to make it happen. But sometimes you just need that backup. You just need to let it roll. I don't know if they've resolved the cloud stuff, but at this point, I've already got to move to another camera that doesn't involve that, and kind of even you might even notice that the shot, the kind of angle of my shot's a little different than what it normally is, the size of it, and all the rest of that. That's coming, and that's because it's coming from a different camera than what it normally does. So I wanted to give you a little touch of that, what the morning's like to get started. Now let me just talk a little bit about some of the news stories, which another thing I do, night and mornings, kind of try to stay current, to check the news. On that, I should say we're looking to try to a lot of folks want to talk to me about business and want me to talk about business because of my background. Previously I was a CPA, previously I was an investment banker, and then previously I owned my own investment banking firm, which was taken public. I formed mutual funds, closed-end funds, worked annuities. I've just that was kind of my background. In addition to doing the morning news and the Wall Street Report on various news media, cable media, and so on. So, and listening to you. We're going to launch an hour show, half hour to an hour, but I think it's going to be an hour, called Chapman Means Business. And I'm inviting guests to talk about all kinds of issues, to talk about the stock market, to talk about the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin market, which is so hot now, to talk about issues such as tax and what the tax bill might mean to you. So it's a little broader show than just strictly investments, because I want to broaden out there to bring entrepreneurs on who are doing things, people that I think you should know, maybe talk about crowdfunding a little bit on the show. So Chapman Means Business will launch starting at about 5 o'clock and go from 5:30 to 6, more likely 6 depending on how life goes. And for those of you who are interested in making money, at least, because that's kind of my business, that I'm more than happy to talk to you about my thoughts on that. As you know, I've my time managed over $1 billion and all kinds of things that those of you who know me either from Maryland or MIT or just from things that I've done in the past, that I know a little bit about how to make money in business and all of that kind of good stuff. So I'm hoping that that might be something that is of interest. So if you tune in at 5, Chapman Means Business will launch later today, and looking forward to hopefully having things set back up so I can take some live questions, because that's really what I enjoy doing. Taking live questions within reason. I don't want to say anything that makes you think you ought to go out and buy IBM today, because I'm not a broker. And I don't want to do register what a broker ought to be doing. But I can tell you generally what I think about IBM or whatever, and whether or not I would buy it. And I can tell you if I did buy it. So you can know a little bit about that. Just touching on getting into a little bit of news this morning, because since I know I'm not going to have any guests this morning, but feel free to comment. I can see your comments here for those of you who are getting this via the various pages other than the We, which I can see. Feel free to give me a comment, and I'll look over from time to time to see if anybody has left me a comment, and I'll be happy to respond to that. Although I can't physically this morning bring you on the show, and I hope those people, since I'm not broadcasting out on the We, haven't kind of called anybody and say, "Oh, Nate's missing because he's not out there on the Wii." But normally I would start with the Wii because again, that gives me the ability to take the live questions, and that's such an important part of why we launched the show in the first place. But did anybody see? Just touching on sports for a second. Did anybody kind of follow what was happening last night when the Houston Rockets played the LA Clippers? Apparently, there was a little bit of an altercation where members of the Houston Rockets team, in particular James Harden and Chris Paul, CP3, what we call him in the sports world, Chris Paul, tried to push their way in, wanting to fight some of the Clippers players. That to me is just outrageous. These are grown men. I don't know what happened on that basketball court during the game. I didn't see the game, but I did read a little bit of the story that whatever happened, now the game is over. These are professional basketball players. That two of the best known, most highly paid players in the game are going to try to push their way into the opposing team's locker in order to fight some of the players. That to me is crazy. I mean, many of these guys have endorsement deals. I mean, certainly if you've seen some of the insurance commercials that Chris Paul does, where the tree falls on his house, and he's got a couple other players, and they're looking on it, and he's Mr. Insurance, and he's got the twin who's the insurance agent, and they're talking back and forth. You're sacrificing all of that. You're sacrificing paychecks if you get suspended for fighting. If you throw a blow, if you're a player and something happens on court where there's an altercation, if you throw a fist, you are 100% guaranteed to get fined, maybe even suspended. But if you go and try to bust into the opposing team's locker room, what would be the penalty for that? I really, first of all, I can't understand the mindset of these grown multimillionaires taking it that far. Whatever happened on the court, it probably wasn't that serious. I mean, if something would have happened on the court, the players would be ejected, and there's even the thought that if it was really serious, I mean, somebody might even be charged for assault. So, I didn't see the game, but if some of you out there saw the game, perhaps you could give me your opinion of why two of the most highly paid players, best known players in the league, and James Harden, for the people out there, the women who may have seen him, he's the guy with the beard. In fact, they call him the beard. And so he has his own thing going because that beard has made him famous. So, notwithstanding the fact that he's a fantastic ball player. But what were they thinking? And not just, it's one thing for one guy to kind of say, "Oh man, something happened to me on the court, and I'm gonna go for bad. I'm gonna just bust into the opposing team's locker room, because I'm gangster like that. I just go bust by security, and I'm gonna bum rush in there, and all the players, all the people. I don't care who's in there. I'm just gonna go in there and I'm gonna whoop butt, because of something that happened on the court. I mean, I just can't see it. But then not just one player thinking that crazy kind of way, but at least two players, and it was more. It was, I don't know how many members of the team, but it was more than just Chris Paul and James Harden. It was other members of the team who said that we're just, after this, we're going to go get the fight going. Yeah. And that stuff played out in high school. They don't even do that in college. Sometimes after a high school game, I remember, I played high school basketball, for example. And, I've gone to some places that have been kind of, threatening. The fans threaten you from the court, parents and everybody. I grew up in the inner city playing basketball, so a lot of people take it kind of seriously sometimes. But I have never heard of someone busting into the team's locker room after the game. During the game, if there were fights, yes. Certainly, that's no issue. It's an issue, but it certainly is not a thing that's unusual. But after the game is over, you still are so mad, right, that you can't take your $1 million butt home or go back and take a shower or think about it. You're just going to bust into the other team's locker room and do what? What do you expect them to do? Take a beat down? Yeah, maybe they got their own security. Maybe they got their own entourage. You know, who knows what you might be stepping into? Heck, yeah, I don't know if you remember, but Gilbert Arenas, who used to play for the Washington Wizards, he kept guns in the locker room. In fact, he was suspended because he brought guns into the locker room, not to kill anybody or shoot anybody. I think he was showing someone the guns, but he was kind of acting like he was gangster because he had those guns. And there was the other basketball player who was the center out of New Jersey who kept guns in his home and he shot his driver, and accidentally, and tried to cover it up. Jason Williams, that was his name. And these guys, you go and bust into somebody else's locker room. Most of these guys are from the city, from the streets. They're not simply gonna take a beat down. Who knows what kind of weapons might be in there waiting for you? So I can't understand how players of the caliber. And again, this wasn't as though it was some bench players. Somebody just would never played, never got into the game or anything like that. These were two stars, two guys who are known throughout the NBA, as I say, who have major deals. Both have major tennis shoe deals. So much to sacrifice. I just can't imagine, what the reason would be. They would put that up for grabs. What could have happened in those few minutes on the court? Now, be honest with you, I played ball before. As I said, I played in the inner city. And there's been some things that said on the court, talking trash. I like talking trash, and I like playing with other players to talk trash. It kind of motivates me a little bit, but people can take it too far. It's one thing to talk trash, but, I'm going to tell you, when you take it beyond that, you start talking about somebody's mom or somebody's girlfriend or wife, now, you have taken it into fighting words. But, and that's in the city. But you don't expect professional basketball players to do something like that. It's there are people who say that the NBA stands for nothing but what did Shaq say? He said the NBA is nothing but entertainment. That they're not really playing as hard as they could play. That they're just entertaining out there, so to speak, and when they make those faces and so on. So why so serious? And of course you remember back in the day, I think one of the players, Carmelo Anthony, I remember when Kevin Garnett had said some things intimating that he may have slept with Carmelo Anthony's wife before he got together with her and kind of getting under his skin. And Carmelo Anthony, on his own, not like this, with a bunch of team players kind of trying to bust the door down, on his own, wanted to address Kevin Garnett after the game on what he said about his wife. I could even understand that a little bit. I mean, it's not something you should do. Or even, do you remember the other basketball player that the fan threw some drink on him, I guess, and he jumped into the stands. He's gonna beat the fan down, which understandably too. I mean, it's kind of hard to accept. You're sitting there minding your own business, you're playing the game, and all of a sudden this cup comes out of nowhere and hits you. It splashes you, and if you not really thinking, you could react to that. Most guys are gonna react to that. If nothing else, to throw another cup back. So, but that's a one-on-one thing. This was a team thing. It could end up with the people, not to talk too much about this, but it could end up with maybe, from what I understand, the number of players, maybe half the team suspended. That would be unheard of. What would happen if half the team got suspended and they didn't have enough players to put on the court? Enough players to really play the game. This could be put into unprecedented territory. But just as it just is that way, I know the commissioner just can't tolerate something like that. I mean, as commissioner, I don't care the fact that Chris Paul is kind of a star, so is James Harden. You can't have a situation like everybody's going gangster. I'm gonna just bust in here and just I don't care because that's how I am. You mess with me, I bust in there. I don't care where you are, NBA game, at home. I'm gonna bust on in there, and the commissioner just can't have that. And he's got to come down sternly, I would think, on the people that are involved. They come down sternly just if you throw a blow on the basketball court. I can only imagine what would happen because of the what was happening with uh, the whole thing of them fighting in the locker room and all that. And just to remind everyone, because a lot of folks perhaps have noticed now that we're not broadcasting on the Wii, and I had mentioned that the software that we use is in the cloud. And for some reason this morning, I'm just going to try and see if anything's going out on the Wii. Uh, for some reason, the cloud software that we use to make the broadcast happen, it was down, most likely hacked, and so at least in my opinion, I think that's what happened. And they are now trying to deal with it. I probably got another couple messages from the people in customer service that I told them that I go on the air at 6 a.m. They probably still want me to kind of go back and forth with them as to what's happening, as to why it might be happening. Because the whole thing, even though just to talk about it, I couldn't reach the server where the software is over here. I know it's not me because over here I am reaching Facebook and so on. So we're kind of getting out because on one hand, to my left, I have it on my personal page, which I can see is broadcasting, and then the other one, I have it on the Wii, which is not broadcasting. So, and the only reason that that's not broadcasting is that it's connected to the cloud, and that software to the cloud. So, today, we're not taking live questions. Today, I didn't put that link on the Wii website that you can click on and kind of join it, and that's the reason. But I do want to thank all of the people out there. Every day I'm getting different people to friend me and to join the Wii, to join my personal page, and I'm really thankful for that. And I look forward to having many of you on the show because ordinarily the Wii page is working, and on that page there's a link, and if you click on that link, you come on the show live along with me. We jump into a split screen, and we can split screen 3 people. And then we talk about things. And I'm hoping that we might be able to talk about your interests. Many of you are entrepreneurs who I see befriending me, and I'm happy to talk about your business, your what you're thinking about. Some of you simply are just folks that are and maybe have looked at a couple of our past episodes of the Wii broadcast, and it's also on my personal page, and said, this is not bad. Maybe I'll watch this guy in the morning. But ultimately, this is a two-way talk format, and the way to reach me is either from give me a comment, which I'll look over and respond to. Now, as you know, when I'm rolling and the Wii page is going, I'll put your comment up on the screen so everybody can see it and then read it as well. But won't be able to do that today because can't reach the cloud, and people complain about that. Oh man, what if something happens? What if the cloud goes down? Well, this is what happens. You need to have a little bit of backup because you can't do much about it. I mean, I personally think that what I pay for the cloud access, they should give me a discount, and I'll be trying to negotiate that later because it doesn't do me any good if I cannot reach it. And that's another thing about business. I'm constantly with these guys. We talk back and forth. And it'll be an opportunity for me to get to know their people even better because I've had this incident and I've now had to work with a few other people and so on and so forth. So it's an opportunity as much as it is an inconvenience. But if I didn't have a backup, if I didn't have something on my computers instead of just in the cloud 100%, I would not be able to do this broadcast because I'd be dependent on reaching a cloud that I couldn't reach this morning. So that is a lesson for those who are in the live streaming game. Yesterday, I did, in addition to this morning show, I did a Martin Luther King Day show, and that went very well. And I was very pleased to have several guests that appeared both remotely and then some that came into the studio. So I was very pleased to do that. And I think going forward, we may, on holidays, just do special shows. a Mother's Day show, Father's Day show, stuff like that. I kind of enjoy doing them. You might say, well, Nate, don't you have enough? Gee, you're up at 6 in the morning, you're doing it 3 hours, you're going to launch Chapman Means Business. But I kind of look at myself as the Steve Harvey of social media. Steve does all these different shows. He's got the Steve Harvey show. Plus, he's doing stuff on radio. I said, wow, that opens up the possibilities. It used to be a thing where you kind of do one thing and then people know you and that's it. He's known for comedy. So you might say, okay, let him do a comedy show, but he's kind of broadened that out and really proud of that. But from my perspective, it means that I don't have to be stuck in a box because I have a lot of interests. A person like me who likes people just has a lot of interests, whether it's travel or fashion or sports or whatever it might be. And that's why I like the two-way talk format. That normally you guys come on board and ladies come on board and we'll talk about whatever it might be. It might be nail care. It might be basketball. Who knows what it might be. Because in the old days, as you all have heard me say, I used to do two-way talk radio. And that was great. People would call in live and they'd ask questions and you'd be able to respond to them. And, that was great. But things have evolved. Social media has evolved. So now, instead of just doing two-way talk on the radio, we can do two-way talk in the social media, where you just come on the show. Normally, if I have that link up there, you can click and make it happen. But today, because of the glitches in the cloud and whatever, and you can kind of get kind of concerned. Man, why can't I reach the cloud? Is there something happening out there? Something happening in the sky or whatever, satellites and stuff, and what's going on? Is if you're like me, you come in, you do the same thing every day in terms of setup, and then all of a sudden, what you do every day is not working, and you look at it and you say, why? But the good part is, I didn't just sit here and just keep doing it over and over again. I could reach out to the people who run the cloud service and say, first of all, make them aware of it, because it was pretty clear. The fact that I get up so early and I start doing this, I'm probably one of the first people to kind of launch it and get rolling with it. But because I get up so early, I can make them aware of it, and which obviously they were not when I made them aware that the DNS server, not to get too much into that, was not resolving. And what that meant is that you could not reach them. And there are a lot of reasons why that could happen. Some could be hardware related, software, and I said I wasn't going to get too much into it. But the bottom line is that it was happening. And so we were not able to get the access to that software. But praise God, it wasn't the only software that I had. Even this, if that were to go down for any reason, well, that might be a problem. So do you have this was kind of normally I do it all together. I put both services, the We page, and I put what I'm doing here, and I do it all together. But if one goes down, the other can serve as a backup to the other to make sure you still get out there. And you can kind of say, well, shouldn't I have a backup to all of that? I guess you could. And there are ways of doing that, different software companies or more equipment that you could back up your backups. But to a certain extent, this is kind of our little fail-safe. And we're going to be doing some other things to kind of tinker with the setup and the software. So in a sense, we will have a backup to the backup to the backup. Usually, the hardware backup is the fact that, I got multiple computers. If it doesn't happen, I pop up my laptop. And heck, I'm prepared. Just so you know, if it really got down to it and got serious, I'll go live right here on the cell phone. I'll punch that. I got a little thing here. I'll lay this cell phone aside this and put it out there. And boy, we'll be live right here on the cell phone. So in a sense, that's like my backup to my backup to my backup. That worst case, that we will use this cell phone, which for me is kind of a mini computer. I got all this memory, all this many programs on it. But it becomes the backup to my backup to my backup, I guess, in that sense. So, and, which is good. because cell phone technology works differently than what they call Ethernet technology, which works different than wireless technology, or even this is not necessarily wireless because it flows through Ethernet. Not to get too much into that, but there are three different kinds of technology. So maybe if one is down for whatever reason, that the others will be available to you, and which is what we want to do. As I mentioned, we want to help you to have your own show. We want to help you to get out there and to produce you. In addition to what I provide, we want to, in terms of the two-way talk and what I'm doing, we have a whole infrastructure set up that we want to help others to do the same, both under the We channel and just independent. If you just want to get your own fan page out there for live stream, and you don't want to go through what I go through, you don't have my tech background and tech and media background, then we will help you to do your thing. Just contact me at Nate, N-A-T-E, at thewe.world. Now, some of you are more accustomed to .com, and .com is great. And in many cases, people might say .com is preferable. That if you have something that you want to have the .com part of it, and that's true. But truth be told, when we were trying to make this happen, the we.com was not available. I think some guys over in Japan have it. So we started thinking about it a little bit more. It made you think a little bit because .com wasn't available. And there are a lot of other choices. But when we hit on the we.world, that's where we're headed, world. Because you'll see that even in the broadcast this week. People from all different parts, not just different parts of the United States, but different parts of the world, all will be coming into the broadcast. My MIT friends, are you out there? I see some of you are on the internet from different parts of the world. It's a shame that you can't just click on that link and come on in. Tomorrow, Lord willing, they'll have this problem resolved, hopefully later today, because Donnie will be launching his show. If not, he'll not be able to take live questions. And tonight, I won't be able to do that on Chapman Means Business. But we will be able to react to your comments. So if you have some comments, and I can see that I'm out there broadcasting on my personal page, and so if you, many of you are reaching out into some of the groups that I belong to. So if any of you are seeing me via that method, feel free to leave a comment so I know at least that you're up. Well, actually, at least I know that you're connected to Facebook. Many of my friends, I can kind of see them on the screen. I know that you're connected to Facebook, but that doesn't mean you're looking at it. And you could be doing what I would do normally if I wasn't doing the show, which is maybe having some breakfast or something, and kind of getting myself together for the day. The other thing, people like me to talk about news in the markets. Did anyone notice yesterday that the price of Bitcoin dropped 10%, in less than an hour? Well, that's pretty major. People are always saying, well, how safe is Bitcoin? How good is Bitcoin? Many are saying, how they have doubled their money, tripled their money, some even more than that from their Bitcoin investments. But yesterday was kind of a scare that Bitcoin dropped 10% in less than an hour. Well, and the reason for that, what's being given as the reason for that, is the lack of buyers, over in China, and there's a reason for that. The fact that the Chinese are deciding that they want to crack down on cryptocurrencies, that they don't see it as in their interest, is what they want to do without a lot of heavy regulation. And so they put the word out that they're cracking down. Also, two of the biggest buyers, South Korea and Japan, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular, were out of the market. Apparently, for that over in South Korea and Japan, the nature of how Bitcoin trades, they always end up buying at a premium over in South Korea and Japan. So they decided to kind of sit on the side. Well, if you understand how markets work, what makes a Bitcoin go up, what makes a stock go up, is having more buyers than sellers. Because if you have more buyers than sellers, then the price of something goes up. But if you have more sellers than buyers, or let's say in the case of Bitcoin, you're looking to sell, but then you can't find the buyer at the level that you want to sell the Bitcoin, then the price goes down to the point where you can find a buyer. It continues to go down. If you want to continue to sell, you got to go down to that place where there is a person willing to pay the price with that person. And in the case of Bitcoin yesterday, that meant that it dropped 10% in an hour. So that doesn't, to me, mean that Bitcoin is bad, because the stock market drops, not 10% an hour, but the stock market does drop. And we talk a lot about that. That it's all about buyers and sellers, and people buy and sell for different reasons. It's not that they've analyzed the situation and that they say, well, you know what, this price is too high. Sometimes it's that way, and that leads to people selling. And maybe on the other hand, people say, well, you know, I think the price is too high. I don't want to buy at this level. And if you don't have buyers to meet the selling demand, the price will go up. On the other hand, if you have more buyers than you have sellers, if you have more people who want something, then there are people willing to sell it. Then those who are willing to sell it can sell it at increasingly higher prices based on that demand. And that has very little to do with the fundamentals of the company. You know, what you think about management or the competition. It's more an election of what's happening on a particular day. You know, and yesterday in the Bitcoin market, the market dropped 10%. So, depending on what you think about Bitcoin and its long-term future, that could be a buying opportunity. Now, what do I think? Well, personally, from what I see right now, I would view it as a buying opportunity. If it was me, and I was kind of looking at it, I'm not saying what you should do, but if it was me and I had the time to look at it from what I see happening in Bitcoin, I'm really impressed with the fact that some of the big players like JP Morgan are getting into the game. I'm impressed by the fact that they're now letting futures trade on Bitcoin, that the big futures market exchange is allowing allowing Bitcoin transactions. There's more and more solid players in the game. There appears to be a fair amount of venture capital money headed that way into Bitcoin. It certainly is a global type situation. The very fact that China and South Korea and Japan could be such influential players says that it's a global situation. It's not just a localized currency. The way the dollar, the dollar is kind of global, but certain other currencies aren't worth very much outside of the borders of that country. So I'm encouraged. If it was me, I'm not saying that I would bet the farm on Bitcoin by any means, because it may go down further. But I would do what's called dollar cost averaging. I would probably buy, I would decide on the amount that I would like to buy, usually in the dollar amount, whatever that might be, and I would average that over a monthly buy. So if it goes down further, I'd buy a little. Goes up further, I'd buy a little. That kind of thing and then I would kind of have an average price. Either an average price based on it having gone down, am I buying a little bit each month as it goes down, or that it's going up, that I would do what's called dollar cost averaging. And so that's the way I would approach Bitcoin. I would certainly not be fearful. The fact that, China was cracking down and Bitcoin doesn't have a future. Just the nature of Bitcoin, I can't really see that. I can't see China determining in and of itself the survival of Bitcoin. Nor can I see, and the fact that the South Koreans, Japan, said they were sitting on the side for a minute, did not mean that they were leaving the game altogether. And they were just kind of sitting back and watching, and fully intended to kind of come back into it. And we could see a spike back the other way, or they could do what I'm talking about. They could say, "Oh, this thing is starting to fall. It will come back, so let me kind of average into it. I may want to buy a lot of it, but let me not do that all at one time, because I'll force that price up. Let me kind of inch in there as quietly as I can, maybe even as the price is dropping, because it will reach that floor, and at that point, buyers equal sellers, when you have that floor, and any buy demand will start the price back up again." So that's what I'm actually thinking about Bitcoin. And when I saw this story, I knew that it could be concerning to some folks, but the State Farm commercial, how's that State Farm commercial go? We know a lot because we've seen a lot, and I have certainly seen a lot as it relates to various forms of making money and investments, and my, I kind of came to fame when the stock market crashed back in the 90s, early 90s. That was when I kind of came to light. Let me see, was it 90? No, let me take that back. It was 87. That's when that happened. Market dropped over 500 points, 531, I think, like that. And that was when I came kind of, was just young in the investment business, and I started doing television and other things, talking about the market on various channels around the country. So, I'm not afraid to stick out a position. I always like to say that those people who followed my advice during that period of time are doing very well right now. And so I would say, again, if it was me, I'm not telling you what to do, but if it was me and Bitcoin fell off 10% in an hour the way it did, I would probably see it as a buying opportunity. Not all at once. Well, oh, Bitcoin's down. Let me just everything I want. But if I had $1,200 I want to invest, maybe I'd be putting $100 into Bitcoin each month, no matter what the price was. They kind of average my price a little bit, and that's saying that $1,200 would be money. Quite frankly, I'd be willing to lose 100% of. If I take $1,200 and turn it into something, fine. But if it doesn't happen, it's not like I've bet the farm or bet the rent money or something like that. Certainly, I would not advise that whatsoever. If this is some rent money that you're going to roll the dice on, Papa needs a new pair of shoes, even Bitcoin, come on, let's come on in. That is not what I would advise at all. So, let me, there are people, let me see, I don't see anybody out there who give me a little comment. If some of you guys are out there, and ladies are out there, give me a little comment to let me know that you are there, and certainly any of my new friends that are out there. I'd love to hear from you. This is not as easy as it was, where I can physically hear your voice. That's what would happen if we had the setup with the We page. I don't even want to check, because it's probably, hey, you think I should? Yeah, it's kind of tempting. Kind of check to see if this boy's got it together. I can't do anything about it, at this stage of the game. I can't go out and switch off these cameras and this, that, and the other. I would not let me ask you to wait while I did that. But there is a little, it still can't be reached. That is not what we call a good sign. Kimosabi, that is not what we call a good sign with these boys. So, when something like that happens, as I said, it probably is indicative of, being hacked. And maybe they'll put some notice out there, or it could be just a little error, like what happened in Hawaii, with the whole message that went out that there was a nuclear missile that was imminent. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Can you imagine driving down the street and people were in that scenario, and then all of a sudden on the radio, you hear this thing: "This is not a test. A nuclear missile has been fired, and you should go run for cover," or something like that. This is not a test. This is not a drill. Wow. Can you imagine that? There are people, and there was a lot on the news last night of people saying, well, what should you do? If you're in a car, are you in a safe place? For example, if something happens and you're in a car, are you in a safe place? In my mind, clearly, anyone who asked that question did not see the movie Independence Day. Do you remember that scene when the aliens kind of blasted the building and the mushrooms spread out, and you got all these cars flipping through the air and stuff like that? I would think that would be something close to a nuclear explosion. And you say, well, Nate, the cars are flipping through the air. Maybe I'm safer flipping through the air in my car than if I was outside my car flipping through the air. Well, that may be true, but it's not the best scenario. What they're saying is the best scenario is to get into a building, and like now, if something were to happen outside and I was to know what was going on, what I should do is I dive under this table and put my head down and hope and kiss my butt goodbye. No, that's not part of the instructions. But if they were truthful, I think it would be. But that's not what they're saying. Because I thought once the thing went off that anything that kind of was in that area that was all over for you. And then the radiation and all, and what can you do? They are saying that you go to a shower and try to rinse it off, but keep your head down so you don't wash it in your eyes. Did you see all that stuff that was on television? And quite frankly, in my time, I don't remember it. I mean, there are people who say that who are my age who say they remember having these drills. Well, what to do in the event of a nuclear attack? Where people practice going under the table and getting on their hands and knees and covering their head and stuff like that. I don't remember it. And for me, maybe in the city where I grew up, it was one of those things where if it happens, whether hopefully you just have a glass of wine or whatever you do, click the glass and say, "Oh, it's been nice," yeah, and that's kind of it, because you can't outrun it, and it's all in the air and everything like that, and you step on the ground, you touch it, it's all over. That's why it's such a devastating thing. So, I'd be interested in your opinions out there. I'm checking to see if I have any comments from the folks that are out there. If you have any thoughts on what happened in Hawaii, because if I was, what would I do? I think I just want to call people I loved or something like that. Get in contact with my kids and my girlfriend, and just tell them I love them one last time, and I guess what else can you do? You stuck out there. Back in the day though, I was fast. I might jump out that car and say, "Oh, where's the direction? Let me head for it." But no, just joking. Because you run about a little while, you see that cloud getting on you, like, no, I'm going to run till I'm on the ground like this, trying to get away from it. But if you're in Hawaii, I can kind of half joke about it because it's a very serious subject. And in Hawaii, it was very real. It was 100% real. The notice went out on the cell phones. The notice went out over the radio, and all because someone pressed a button that they were not supposed to. So they pressed that button. Again, I'm checking for comments over here from those of you, and I really am shocked that my friend, Mr. Earl, has not yet said to me, "Nate, you're not broadcasting on the Wii." He's my conscience out there, and he makes sure that my check out there regarding what's happening as far as the broadcast. You've kind of seen them. What I am looking at and what I really would like to do. You see this? This is like a QVC live. I want to do some product shows. I love this. I buy things off of QVC, and I know my girlfriend does. Many people do. And I think it's just a fantastic thing. And on the Wii, I would love to see us do some product-oriented shows, showing people how to do things, whether it's how to cook a meal or how to deal with makeup or cosmetics, stuff like that. I think that would be enjoyable for you out there. And not that you don't enjoy watching me talk for 3 hours, but this could be something different. And I am hopeful. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to check one other way to see if I am reaching you all out there, because I really apologize for the fact that the cloud's not working today and that I can't take your questions. But it looks like on the personal side that I see myself blowing and going and out there doing the live broadcast. But the Wii page, the page that I have spent so much time directing you to so that you could see the split screen and I could take your live questions, that does not appear to be going at this moment. So, but hopefully these guys will have something done soon. And I'm just checking one more time that the Wii is not broadcasting. But quite frankly, it wouldn't make a difference. It was more a curiosity standpoint from my perspective. I could kind of tell you which way to go. But no, nothing on the Wii is my friends that are on my personal pages that are seeing this broadcast, and I'm all thankful for you. But at the same time, give me a comment. If you gave me if you out there and you're listening to me in any way, shape, or form, that is why we are not. I'm going to do this just to see if these guys, out of curiosity, have resolved this thing. You know how it is when you're a tech guy. It's kind of rolling in the back of your mind. You know what you would do to resolve this situation, and even if it pops up that hey, it's resolved, not much I can do about it, and it is still not resolved. Yeah, I'm sure that really speaks to something bad happened in the cloud. You know, because all the cloud is like these computers all hooked together, which are much bigger, much more memory, much more powerful, but they're all hooked together. And that when you're on a cloud, like we're talking about, you get a little tiny space on one of these computers, and you got to sign in. You know, they give you a password, what they call remote. Oh, I should go all into that technical stuff. I'm probably gonna lose half of you, but you can sign into that server, and that's technically what they talk about when you're signing into the cloud. And then when you sign in, you can access whatever software you're authorized to get. I'm still talking about it, even though I said I wasn't. But that is not happening this morning. And as I said, the first part of it was the guy kind of saying, hey, it's something on your end. But I knew that wasn't the case. But I also found out that the guy who I was talking to was not a tech guy. So he was asking me what these guys do sometimes is they have a little, oh, Earl Bravo likes your video. Earl, I see that. Outstanding, outstanding. So you have seen that we're not on the we. See, I always depend on my friend Earl. He's out there. He knows that I'm going to be doing this, and he's out there making it happen. So and helping me make it happen. So he understands the fact that for some reason couldn't get into the cloud, so the DNS server wasn't working on somebody's end because DNS servers aren't in the cloud. You know, they're somewhere else because you kind of got to go through them and kind of come back to where you have to be, and that's not whoever they're using, wherever the DNS server is, they just kind of need to deal with it, which they haven't yet. But I can only imagine that as people are getting up, maybe still it's a little early in the morning for many people to be getting up and kind of doing the live broadcast. As I said, nobody was fighting me over the 6 to 9 slot. I told you what it takes to get up in the morning to make this happen. But as people start to get up and start to do things, for 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and so on, they're going to want to have that thing up and rolling, or they're going to be spending their days talking to people about complaints. But that being said, we provide the production infrastructure. So if you're interested in getting a show and you want to get out there, either on your page or through the we, or this whole thing of how do you get out there. You can just grab your phone and just go Facebook Live, but you want to do something a bit more professional with graphics, split screen. You want somebody to deal with storage issues, because these files, can you imagine me when I talk for 3 hours? The video file is extremely large, to file. And it's the way it works on a normal hosting service is that you don't get to upload. You might be able to upload about 250 megabytes, something like that. But you will not be able to upload a file. If I talk for 3 hours, I might have a 2 gigabyte file, and that you cannot upload. So you need someone who's got a little technical capability. You can't even FTP it. There's a little FTP for you guys that aren't tech. It's what we call the file transfer protocol, and that's something that I'm going to get into it. You use FileZilla, something like that, and you link in, you transfer into you have to know where to transfer it into, but they won't even allow you to do that. So you pretty much have to be able to have your own setup, and to make this, I should mention that too. To kind of do the whole live stream thing, we have our own servers. So we have our own servers, dedicated servers. So we set the rules. So if we want to, just to talk a little bit about the tech stuff, since I'm still looking for my first comment, I saw Mr. Earl, he liked our stuff. But if you have your own server, then you set the rules because it's kind of arbitrary. Yeah, if they don't want you to load too much on your hosting service. If you've got one of those HostGator $9 a month hosting services, you can forget it. If you got a file as big as the video that I'm creating and talking for 3 hours, you will not be able to do it on a HostGator or Bluehost or anything like that because they're just not going to let you do it. But because I have my own servers, which, I mean, it's expensive. I mean, you figure like a HostGator situation, if you go them and others, you might pay $9 a month. Heck, to be honest with you, just to put it in perspective, my bill is in the thousands. So because I have my own stuff, and I take, and not only that, but you have to take more responsibility for it. You have to know a little bit about servers and so on. And so not only do you have your own servers, but you have to do more with them. It's not as though, okay, for instance, if I want to change the rules that allow me to, if my memory serves correctly, I think I've changed it to like 5 gigabytes because I can't see me doing anything that would be that large. You got to set some limit. No, you don't necessarily have to, but you set a limit. And so a big file like this, like what we're creating, like I create every day, you can kind of transfer in and have it to be yours. So, the stuff is out there on Facebook, but Facebook can get mad at you, or you might and kind of block you, and then you don't have access to your own stuff. And then you might have some stuff out there on YouTube, or if you want to go from what you produced on Facebook to upload it on YouTube, but you also want your own copy, that's when that kind of stuff comes into being important. So, there are a lot of issues that are related to this and how you make it happen. Even you might have a video. I can't tell you, we've kind of let our stuff go in the sense that I think yesterday we were still talking after we thought we had stopped broadcasting, because I kind of clicked the stop broadcasting thing, and it was another click, and I clicked that, and for some reason, in terms of what it required, it didn't take. And so we thought we were done, and he and Donnie and I were kind of just talking and stuff. And then Earl, the good person that he is, and just letting us know, told me, "Hey, you guys are still broadcasting." All right, what do I have here? I'm going to check this bad boy. Looky here. Looky here. It says here, and I see now one of the things I need to do is to mute this bad boy. But it says here, did not need to. You explained the problem around 6:05. Earl Bravo is watching you, my man Earl. You see, you need that too. You need to be doing something here, but you need to have that dedicated soul, willing soul, who is willing, being nice to say, hey, look, this is how you're coming across out there. So he got the news at 6:05, and to know when I first was explaining, what was happening, which is still unresolved. It's kind of, oh man, let me just click it one more time, even though I can't do anything about it, because as I said, once it was clear that I was not going to be able to access the cloud stuff, and I had to shift. I had to get my other camera out. I had to set it up beside the other one. I had to shift my computers and so on and so forth. Oh boy, it's almost 6 o'clock. And then the customer service guy, he wanted to go back and forth with me through the instant messages. And I said, I can't. No, they still haven't resolved it. So, but, I got under the desk to sling some wires, kind of made it happen. And so now, praise God, I'm able to be out there with you and to let the show continue to roll. So thank you, Mr. Earl, for letting me know that you actually got the message at 6:05 that the We page is not doing it now. And it's something, too, that I'll resolve. Because actually, even on this side, which was I've previously set up to broadcast to every place except the We, because what I didn't want to have happen, is have 2 streams going to the same place, because that potentially could be a problem. So this goes to every place except the We, and this place over here, which is the cloud, goes only to the We, as opposed to they're colliding. But we got to find out what will happen if we tried that, because we certainly intend to do what's called simultaneous broadcasts. So what you'll see are two live broadcasts on one page, at least two. So right now, if you go to my personal page, it says that I'm live as Nate Chapman. But if we could do a simultaneous broadcast, which we will do, what it will be stacked, live. We might be doing my show live and your show if we help you do it. We might be doing, you might see simultaneous live shows. So, but we need to see how that would happen. Right now, it's just the one live broadcast. And even that seems to be like, oh, I hope no one hacked me, because we're losing control. No, I'm just joking. The good thing is that software sometimes it just glitches. Although this software seems to be working fine over this side, sometimes the glitches, and you got to be able to react fast. Kind of go figure it out. Maybe I need to switch it to this laptop, or even maybe, as I say, go to my cell phone, make it happen one way or the other. So this and the technology is evolving, so that you can do different things, and then as those things evolve, and I'm trying to get beta test as much stuff. And beta test means you get the advanced version, so you can test it out and try to work out whatever bugs that there might be in the system. So that is what you have to do to kind of create the infrastructure. Now, just getting back a little bit, talking about things that might interest you other than how to do your live stream. Although I think many of you out there might be interested in kind of the technical aspects of doing what we do here. Because as I see the people who are friending me, many of you have businesses. Some of you do live stream. And some of you even have your own shows. And I see Derek. Okay, you found us, Derek. That's great, man. Thank you for letting me know that you're watching. I've explained what was happening with the Wii page, how we couldn't do that. I hope you got that explanation. I'll be making it many times, just so folks know what happened to the Wii. Clearly we're on Facebook, so they didn't kick us off or anything like that. It was an issue with the cloud. But going forward, we are going to be broadcasting on multiple platforms. So in the sad event that something happened and Facebook blocked you, but you can still catch us here at 6 o'clock. The show must go on, so I'd go straight to YouTube Live or Instagram and see that the show is still going on. Or worst case, in the future at the Wii, that world, we don't have it now, but in the future, we probably embed the show into the website. So when you talk about simultaneous, what we want to do, and probably, I would say, I'm shooting for next month, that we can simultaneously broadcast at the Facebook and YouTube Live and Instagram, and then if you come to our website, you'll see the same broadcast, simulcast simultaneously, and that's what we want to offer to others. The ability to do that. So at the end of the day, if you are comfortable with the fact that from 6 to 9, that you know that I'll be here doing my thing, hopefully being able to take live questions and this and that. But in addition to that, if something were to happen with Facebook or YouTube, you can just go to the website, and the website is mine. So it's not I'm because it's not like operating on the Facebook platform, operating on the YouTube platform, operating on the Instagram platform. That's theirs. They control that, and we have to make sure that we follow their rules, or they have the ability to block you. It's not that easy to block someone's website. So you know that worst case, which is why you want to develop the infrastructure. You hope Facebook and the Wii live forever together in harmony and all that. But just in case, you want to have your own, which is the reason why also you should be concerned about storage. That a lot of your stuff is out there, it's on Facebook, and it's kind of stored, even on YouTube, stored. But you want to have some external storage for all of your programming. So I see guys out there, many of the people who I see approving me and coming in as my friends are in the real estate business. And if you do something whether it's your own show where you talk about properties that you list, and or you just talk about the real estate business generally. You want to make sure that you keep a copy of it, and not simply rely that Facebook will have your history, or any other platform like YouTube or so on, and so will have the history. Hey, Derek, now that I know that you're out there, maybe I can get a good comment on what happened last night. I don't know. I was talking about it a little earlier, but you might have read or heard, maybe you saw the game, where James Harden and Chris Paul, who played for the Houston Rockets, tried to push their way into the locker room of the LA Clippers after the game. I don't know if you saw that, but I thought that was kind of outrageous. It's that guys thought that, and it wasn't just them, but them and several members of the team, that they went over to the LA Clippers locker room after the game was over. I didn't see the game, so I don't know what precipitated it, but they went in and they tried to as we used to say, bum rush the Clippers locker room like they were going to do something. I don't know what they thought they were going to do. Kind of dish out a butt whooping, or what we used to call an AW. I won't tell you what the A stands for, but they certainly were trying to escalate the confrontation of whatever happened on the court. I see Paulette Chapman is watching me. That is good. Thank you for letting me know that, because the We channel is not broadcasting, and still every once in a while I'm just tempted to see if these boys have been able to get the thing up and rolling. And I probably got some messages out there where they want me to do this or that to try to get it rolling, but that's their job. But I don't mind helping. I kind of like customer service people. Okay, Jose. Derek said that he did not see the game, and he's asking me why. Probably with the time delay, he now knows why. That I was asking. I asked Derek because Derek and I grew up in the same neighborhood. We used to play ball together, and he can attest that despite carrying a few extra pounds a day, I used to have a game. You grew up in the city, you have any height, you're expected to have a game. Otherwise, we consider that a waste of height if you can't go to the hoop hard. So that's why ladies out there maybe enjoy basketball as well, but we kind of those of us who used to play the game, used to kind of focus on it a little bit more. Notwithstanding, we talked a little bit about some of those football games yesterday, and because a lot of people saw a surprise with Pittsburgh losing. There are many people who were surprised at that, and then the Minnesota Vikings winning in the last seconds of the game. A receiver from the University of Maryland caught the ball and went into the end zone. Now, why do I kind of pump my chest, when I say the University of Maryland? If you looked on LinkedIn, blah, 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 so I'm moving a little fast. If you look on LinkedIn and you put my name in and you kind of check my resume, what you see is that I'm a graduate of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC. And UMBC is one of the 13 schools, state schools we have here in Maryland. Now, why is that important? The 13 schools do not have individual boards. A lot of schools have individual boards. There are only 2 schools, not to get too deep in that, who have individual boards in Maryland. Since I said it, I'll mention it. That's Morgan State University, St. Mary's College, St. Mary's University. Those are the only 2 state schools that have their own board. All the other 13 schools, whether it's University of Maryland College Park or Coppin State College or Bowie State, they all report up to one central board called the Board of Regents. Now, why is that important? Because I was formerly chairman of the Board of Regents. That is a pretty big deal here in Maryland. The youngest person ever to be chairman, first African American, and also the first who was a graduate from UMBC. They're the first to ever be appointed to the board, and the first to be chairman of the board. So I kind of do a little chest pump here because, although I'm not College Park, which is where the guy from Minnesota went to, I go to all the games because I was the board chairman. And I certainly have seen him play in college. So what happened up in Minnesota, I take a little special pride in. Certainly we wish that instead of the guy being in Minnesota, he was at the Baltimore Ravens. but I'm glad that his talent has shown up. Now, if you interview guys, it says, here we go. I got a little comment. I love this. Please give me comments. All of my friends, if you want me to switch subjects, I'm kind of talking a sport thing, but if you want me to switch subjects, happen to do that. Feel sorry for, what's that say? Safety who missed a tackle. And he's talking about the safety who missed a tackle to allow the player from the University of Maryland, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings, to make the touchdown. And that's true. I mean, you can feel sorry for a guy. He came on TV and he's of course quite sad. He cost his team the game. Can't really say that, but that was a key play. Other key plays, weren't as obvious that could have helped them win, but that was a key play that certainly, if he had made, and it was an easy play to make. I would say easy because when I look at it, I feel like even my out of shape behind could have made that tackle. But it was not to be. And the guy from the University of Maryland, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings, went on to win the game. So we're pretty happy about the fact that a Maryland guy, you guys have seen me all over the country. But you see, I look at Morning Joe, and he wants to talk about Alabama, where he went to the University of Alabama. So if anything happens, he's on chest pumping in Alabama. I don't know where Chris Cuomo went when I watch CNN in the mornings but I know that normally if there's a guy, he kind of chest pumps a little bit. So I'm doing that for the Minnesota Vikings. If any of you guys have any thoughts out there, because from a football sports thing, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the New England Patriots. I'm calling the Jaguars. That's right. I'm calling the Jaguars over the Patriots. Right here, so everybody can hear me as a sports prognosticator. That's Jaguars over the Patriots. Now, a lot of people think the Patriots are unbeatable. Now, the Baltimore Ravens aren't in it, so I really don't have a horse in the game, horse in the race. But to the extent that, I still kind of watch it a little bit, not as much as I normally would. I didn't watch really the regular season at all, but the playoffs, now it's get the cream of the crop, hopefully, playing the game. So I am calling the Jaguars over the Patriots, and maybe if they win, if the Jaguars beat the Patriots, I may even be calling the Jacksonville Jaguars Super Bowl champions. For those of you who follow that, and I'll probably will follow it. But if there's any of you out there who think I've lost my mind, any of you Patriot fans who think that the Patriots are just unbeatable, that they're going to roll over everybody, of course, there's an argument for that because they are kind of rolling over everybody. Not to spend too much time on the sports piece, but my hope, any comments out there, any comments of people who think differently, for wherever you might be. And I'm looking, I've got a fair amount of friends that have kind of come in from Florida, and I'm hoping that my Florida contingent comes on board. And I noticed a fair amount of new friends from the South, from Alabama, Mississippi kind of area, and the Carolinas. So if you guys feel differently about it, maybe you're thinking you don't really have a horse in the game. Carolina Panthers lost, so don't really care much about what happens. But for those of you who still follow a little bit of sports, who are out there, some of my Florida Southern contingent, would like to hear what you think through the comments. And hopefully tomorrow, as things transpire, that you can tell me directly, that you'll click onto the site and that you'll come right into the broadcast. I've got a good friend who's coming on Thursday from in my MIT connection. She's going to talk a little bit about her business and some of the things that she is doing from a business perspective, a woman in business. And I sure would like to have some others to come on the show and talk about that. A lot of times what I do is I watch other people's stuff as well. There was a person that I was watching the other day, and she did a fantastic show. But I certainly could see where she could use our help, in terms of graphics and transitions. I don't know if you notice how we kind of slowly transition from the graphic to the broadcast, and it would be, that kind of stuff. So she certainly could use our service. So, but you see me clicking to see if anything's happening on the other end. I'm just curious. It's kind of unbelievable. Look at this. If I didn't have my backup, I would be stuck. So I'm sure. I mean, Derek, he has a show that's coming on Thursday in the evening. Derek will be launching Thursday. Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're launching at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I forget which. A culturally conscious show, and he's got lined up some terrific guests, and I'm looking forward to watching this show. I know one of his shows he was telling me he's got lined up a woman who kind of trains inner city kids in triathlons, and as some of you know, that in my younger days, I've done several triathlons myself. It may seem shocking. You see a little gray in my little shadow beard here, and you say a little extra weight. This guy's a triathlete. Yes. Just to remind you, for those of you who don't know what an Olympic triathlon is, it's like a mile swim in the open water, not in a swimming pool in the club, in the open water somewhere. It could be in the ocean, it could be in a lake, or wherever it might be. And you get out of the water and you bike for 25 miles, right? Up and down hills, and then you get off your bike and you run for 6.25 miles. And I've done 2 of them. So, and then a lot of lesser races. I don't even count 10Ks anymore. So like a 5K, I don't even count stuff like that. But you run up because that's 10K. I mean, in order to do what we do, you do a 10K almost every day. To kind of train to do what we do. And I'd like to do, on my bucket list. I have on my bucket list that I would like to do an Ironman before it's all said and done, to kind of get myself in that kind of shape to do an Ironman. Now I've got quite a bit of weight, and in some of the shows we're going to talk a little bit about that. Weight loss challenge, and certainly that has been a challenge for me. I certainly enjoy good food, flavorful food, but I've learned to do a little bit better than what I have in the past. I don't know what I appear to be in the media. They say the media and television and all that puts weight on you when you see a person, and I certainly do not need that. But that being said, those of you who stay with me, who watch me in the mornings, can watch me hopefully as I take the successful weight loss road to get down. I probably like to drop, believe it or not, about 80 pounds. Now, 80 pounds? Wow, man. 80 pounds? Well, I've done it before. I've been small, I've been bigger. And so, having done it before, not through surgery or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with people who do that, but through the days in which I was a vegetarian and I worked out and so on, I've dropped it more. I actually dropped more than that. So I believe that I have the ability to do it because I've done it before. But it would probably take something like that before I could ever really get serious about doing the Ironman. And I would certainly like to do an Ironman triathlon one day. For those of you not familiar with what that means, it's a 2.5 mile swim in the open water. And you've probably seen it in Hawaii, how they jump in the ocean and they swim out, and it takes over and well, for the fastest swimmers, I don't know anybody can swim that necessarily in less than an hour, but you can imagine that you're out in that water for some time. It probably takes the average person maybe a couple hours to swim it, and you're out in that water for some time, and then you get off your bike and you bike for you get out of the water and you bike for I think like 125 miles, and then you get off that, and then you run a marathon. You run 26 miles. So and that's what an Ironman is, which is what makes it so difficult. If you got to running a marathon in and of itself is difficult. But just imagine after you swam 2.5 miles, and you jumped out of, you bike for 125, and then you run it. I've run 2 marathons, a Marine Corps marathon and a Baltimore marathon, and those things were challenging just in and of themselves. So, I certainly, Yeah, I may even need to adopt even a more aggressive weight loss, goal than even dropping the weight that I'm talking about before I could seriously do it. But I'm thinking about doing it over time. This is not something for maybe even 2018. No, I can't see it for 2018. That's not likely. Anything's possible, but I would say that's not likely. But if any of you out there have some weight loss advice, or would talk a little bit, give me some comments here, and to talk a little bit about what you're doing. What I'm trying to do is basically eat more salads, trying to kind of bring my lunch instead of going out to buy it, because I'm real quick because of my time to buy a pizza or a submarine sandwich. Yeah, I'm real quick to do that. It was like quick, and I can tell you all the places that have the best fries. And of course, that's not the way to weight loss, or to anything else. So my hope is that this new beginning of trying to bring my lunch prepared with salad, maybe a little chicken in it, something like that. And then there's some with the whole Mediterranean diet thing that say that you should not eat anything that has a head to it or had a parent. So chicken has a parent, so maybe I shouldn't eat that. Just get your protein from nuts and broccoli and other things that are quinoa, stuff like that. Eat get your protein that way. Not quite there yet, but we'll see. As they say, said the blind man, and as to how I kind of evolve with that, and you'll see it too. I mean, I've had some health challenges too. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and so the health challenges I've had are really part of the reason why I am the size I am. Because I was formerly a vegetarian and I got off that, and so I maybe go back to my vegetarian ways, which I think contributed to helping me lose weight. You guys can help me. You can think about that a little bit out there, because even though you're a vegetarian, you can't just eat all the pies and cakes you want either. You just can't fill up on Hershey's chocolate, which is one of my favorite things to eat. A little chocolate, little Hershey's stuff. Yesterday I had to make the big decision. I was stopped at the gas station and get some gas, and you just had that taste. You just had that urging, man. I want to get something sweet, and I saw that that thick Hershey's chocolate thing there, and normally that would go straight forward, but I said, okay, trying to do better. So I did one of those caramellos. I don't know if that really helped, but it wasn't as much chocolate, a little bit more caramel in it. And I said, okay, I felt better. At least it was not. I'm clear. It was not as much chocolate as the Hershey's. So I incrementally, maybe not 100%, incrementally did better. So give me your thoughts out there. If you are watching, I see a few comments. So especially my new friends who are seeing the broadcast for the first time. It's a little different than normal. As I mentioned, normally, I'd be inviting folks in and we'd be doing the split screen scenario where you physically come on the show. We have a two-way talk kind of format here where it's not just me talking as it is today, but hopefully, that you will chime in either through comments or physically clicking on a link that I provide every day on the website, that you can click on that link and you come into my guest room right here on the show, wherever you might be, Africa, Asia, South America, all my friends. Click on that link, boom, you go right into the guest room when the software is working, and then we just come up on a split screen, and then we do our thing. So you might say, okay, Nate, what's your backup to the split screen? Let's say this thing never comes back up. What do you do then? Well, there are other ways to split the screen, so I'll probably look into some of those. But it's kind of hard for me to believe that this is not going to be dealt with. I'm kind of trying to, it's not that I can do anything about it, because we're already broadcasting on a different camera than this is connected to. But I'm going to actually just experiment here, just so you guys can see that a couple things you could try to do But again, none of them are going to make any difference. This whole closing it down, bringing it back up kind of thing, that's kind of the first thing you do. You know, you kind of reboot the system. And sometimes it didn't shut down properly, didn't open up properly, but boom, nothing. Wow. Yeah, as I said, if I didn't have the backup, you'd be wondering, why isn't Nate broadcasting today? Well, the reason for that would be that the cloud service, the software that I have here on my computers, which is mine, this software is on the cloud, and the cloud cannot be reached this morning. They're having some issue and with their DNS server and all that is keeping me from reaching the cloud, even still to this day. I mean, it's to this point, to this time. Yeah, and I don't know how many people broadcast this early, like me, but to the extent that more and more people are probably around the 10, 11 o'clock time, they're going to start to broadcast. I can see for this company, this being a little bit of an issue. So, oh wow, my man Tim Polk, I see you watching. Man, a long time no talk to. Tim Possible, is that your company? Tim Possible. I like that, man. Your handicap, you're doing the handyman stuff. Anything's possible with some of the stuff that you have posted on the web to show what you're capable of doing. Man, that's outstanding. You know, Tim and I go back a little ways in different ways. I'm just happy that to hear from you and I want to let you know that I follow your stuff. I see you posting all of when you do a remodeling of a certain area, and to show what you're capable of. I've seen the pictures of your trucks, your truck that you have that has the Tim Possible on it. I think that that's outstanding. I'm really proud, and I've seen also some of the family pictures that you have. Man, it's great, and I really appreciate your watching me. I hope one day, Tim, if you're listening, that you'll actually come on the show, because you're a pure entrepreneur. You came out and you did your thing, you got started, and you built it up to the business that you have today. And I believe that there are other people. There may have been others who have thought about, wow, I kind of like fixing things or whatever, and I like to get into the handyman game. Well, you have done it, and you show what you can do online, and I think that is a fantastic thing. So, Tim, congratulations. You see where I'm doing, you see where I'm evolving, and trying to do my thing. Yeah, Nate Possible. That doesn't sound as good as Tim Possible. I like what you're doing. Nate Possible doesn't sound quite as good. Tim Possible is a real play on the words. It's not impossible. Other people say something's impossible. It's not. It's Tim Possible, which means you can get it done. It's Tim Possible, not impossible. Tim Possible. I love that, man. That was a good play on words. I'm glad you went with that. So, feel free to comment some more too, man, because I'm really proud of what you put together. And ultimately, as I said, when we get the link going, today is not that day, but hopefully tomorrow they will have this situation resolved, and you'll be able to go to the We123 on Facebook. That's our username. Our company is the We, but the username is the We123. The We wasn't available straight, so we had to add the 123 to it. One of my buddies says, Nate, that's kind of hokey. But I thought it was easy to remember, the We123. So if you can remember that, just search for us on Facebook, for those of you who are kind of joining us on the fan page right now. And that's where we'll be. But we do broadcast simultaneously, praise God, to both the We page, business page, and also to my personal page. Which is where the broadcast is taking place right now. And I can kind of look over and see everything seems to be rolling, and happy about that. So, at least we can get out there to see you. I'm staring at two different cameras there, and that's kind of interesting, because you're staring at two different cameras, actually not quite level, so I can kind of, but they're kind of broad and wide. They shoot this broad, wide thing, so you really just have to look in that direction, and so that's what's happening. And praise God that you got more than one, because the one camera is hooked into this system, which today has let me down, but it's kind of what goes on with the show. I mean, we talk about the fact that, hey, Tim, you might want to have your own show one day where you kind of show people the handiwork. What's that show? I forget the show that comes out of Texas, and it's the couple, and they redo your house. You buy this house, and they show you what they can do to redo your house, and you buy this house that's not very good, and then they go in and they redo it, and it's this spectacular house when they get done with it. Yeah, I kind of like that show. But Tim, you might be interested in something like that. Just showing what you do from the handyman perspective. We certainly can get you out there. And this whole infrastructure of what we have here, we want to get others involved, to help other people get their shows out, either through what I'm doing right now, which is my personal page, or to come in under the We, or both, because we have our followers there, and we have links into other people who have tremendous followings, and so we will get you out there so that you can do your thing, and that's something that we're looking forward to. And if you're interested in that, then please contact me at my email address, Nate, Nate, at thewe, THEWE .world, not .com, .world. Some of you may have said, well, I didn't even know something like .world existed. Oh yeah, there's a ton of what they call top-level domain names that are out there other than the .coms or the .nets or the .govs. There's just a ton. .life, .tv. I mean, there's so many that if you went out to a service that you would be able to see. So we chose .world, and as you can see, the map behind us, which even that's going to evolve. We're working on as we kind of test out things. You might see one day you come in and I got a big graphic of the We behind me. Also, you don't really see it, but to my left I have a green screen, and green screen technology is pretty interesting. The whole issue of how you have to light it and distance from the green screen, and it's just an interesting kind of thing. But there are various backgrounds that if you have a green screen, you just kind of throw a graphic in the background and you just roll. You don't have to buy a graphic and hang it on the wall. That map behind me is kind of hanging on the wall. But if I wanted to throw it into the green screen, I basically take a picture of it and then launch it on the green screen and then roll with it. And that is something you may see, different backgrounds. You say, Nate, boy, you look like he's in London. No, I'm on the green screen, giving you the appearance that I'm in London. Or, you might see a little green screen thing with, your house. You say, Nate's outside my house. No, I may have driven by and taken a picture. Oh, that's joking. But the bottom line is that then you throw it on the green screen and you have the appearance that you're at someone's house or whatever. That's what the green screen will do for you. That's kind of to my left and the setup that we have here. So, my hope is that that in addition, normally what you're seeing today is me kind of talking, but this is not. We want two-way talk, and that two-way talk. Some of it. Thank you for some of the comments that I'm seeing there, but also the two-way talk will come, back hopefully in a few hours. Not even that. And because when Donnie launches his show at 10 o'clock, we hope to be back in the game of being able to take your comments and on his show and being able to roll with it. If not, as you can see, we will still make it happen, but without the two-way talk component, the split screen component, because the cloud is there's no way to access the information on the cloud. So as I keep trying to see if it'll happen. Although I can't do much about it at this point. If it were to pop up and start working right now, yeah, it's over. Because as I mentioned to you, I'd have to redirect the cameras and stuff like that. But still, believe it or not, and this is not a small company. They haven't gotten it rolling yet. Normally if you reboot your servers, I talk to tech, but if you reboot them, normally some good things can happen, except if you've been hacked. If you've been hacked, Then you gotta kind of run the old virus software. Maybe if that's not working, you gotta get some professionals in there, to kind of check, go through your logs and kind of check to see what's come in, and it doesn't have to come in that way. You have a bad employee, who's got a little disk drive and he puts it on the computer and runs a little virus thing, all that kind of stuff, you know. One of the things of my many, courses and training, I've been trained in ethical hacking, they call it. And it is just incredible what is possible. That's why a lot of people don't accept, those little drives. If you come to work, they may not even give you the ability to plug in one of those little drives, because not only can you copy off maybe personal private information, but you can maybe install some type of virus into the system. And so they don't even give you the ability to have those ports, what we call ports, are closed. Either physically through the hardware, or you can close ports through the software that doesn't allow things to come in a certain way. So this is a sign to me that our cloud service, more than likely, I don't know if they'll do anything about it. They're not one of these major companies. In a sense, they're a major company, but it's not like IBM or somebody got hacked. They would feel like, because they're a public company, and I'm really sure these people are not public companies, that they would feel the need to announce that indeed we had been hacked. Just like me. I mean, when I talk the nature of my business, if I got hacked, I'd say probably something like, Nate's been hacked, and just to tell you. But because I'm not a public company, you would not have to know, quote unquote, that I have been hacked. And the same thing with this company. They're a big company, but they're not so big that they have to announce it. Kind of looking to my left, just going to check on the fact that we are still streaming out there and you guys are still seeing me, more or less. So that's something that, and I can also see myself. It's very interesting. The whole thing of being able to see yourself on the phone and see what's going on, and I also can kind of see myself and what's going on the computer. So on the tablet, because I got different things rolling on this side. So I'm kind of looking to make it happen on all of the above. And a tablet for me is kind of hard to operate. I've got big hands. So you really kind of need to, what do we have? What do we have? I'm looking, I thought I had a few more comments. I see. I'm trying to check and see, do I have some comments out there that I can respond to? Because that is really what I'm hopeful of doing, being able to respond to comments. And this is, you should see this. Now, this is kind of the unusual part of this. My computer is just flashing, boom, 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 and which is, to say the extent, highly unusual. Well, something must be happening out there in the Ethernet, or in the wireless world, because that's an unusual thing. And whatever it might be, is probably why I can't really reach my service. Now, at least on one of my computers, the whole Facebook thing has gone down. Yeah, isn't that what we call a good sign? So I'm going to try to do the very same thing for those of you who are watching on my. Actually, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go back and try to do it on my personal page, because the tablet has let me down. And there we go. We're kind of boom, the whole live thing is happening. I can kind of see it there, but at the same time, and please, we would ask you, if you get a chance, to share what we're trying to do here. I appreciate that. And like us. Okay. I am seeing here a couple little things, little comments. which is just one more reason to make sure that perhaps you even consider using someone to produce you, which is what we want to do for people. We want to fill up the content 24/7 on the We. And again, if you're interested in that, kind of reach out to me, Nate at the We, THEWE, .world, not .com, but .world. Yeah. Alrighty, kind of doing a couple things here. Alright, we're set up to get some comments now, so you guys can kind of test me out. Send a little comment here. Boy, this tablet's pretty much died. Yeah, it's not what we call a good sign. I had to come back in this bad boy. Yeah. Oh, we'll see. But that's technology. We talk about backups and stuff. I mentioned, the fact that I have this on my own computers gives me a lot of power because I have it, as opposed to being in the cloud where you're trying to access it. And the fact that I've all around me, you can see a little wider shot. I have computers. If one is not happening, just switch the whole thing to the next one, and then, oh, okay. Says here what do you have here, Earl? You'll be sending me a nice message here. John Small, wow, man, long time no talk to. Earl, you see, John Small is watching us, man. Now, John, the last time you and I talked, you were up in Milwaukee. Are you still up in Milwaukee, man? Give me some more of that. Give me another text here. I see John Small's out there. John, super salesman, and an old fellow worker in the investment banking business. Man, I haven't talked to John. That's one of the good things about the internet, and maybe a good thing about this show. John, I am glad to hear from you, man. This is great. For those of you who kind of see things, John's another one. I would love when normally you have the ability to kind of click on our show and join us. John's another one that I would love to have click on our show and join us and just give us an update, because I know he's doing something great and powerful and positive. John, that you're out there. It's funny. Mister, I see, I got a little comment here. Sometimes it's funny because I'm looking at my phone, and some people text me, and sometimes I get comments via Facebook, and you're going back and forth between the two. You're looking for them. Then is this a text, or is this something that I got from Facebook? What I am looking at. Okay, I see Mr. Earl had text me, and to it's saying here that we are totally he's looking over the We, and I can tell you the We is not happening this morning. It is it's all coming off of my my personal page this morning. We'll make the We happen one way or the other, even if I got to switch it all to the software that I have. We'll make the We happen. And for those of you who don't know, we were unable to reach the cloud service that we use to provide the We broadcast. So we're broadcasting straight from the laptops and things that we have. And I'm looking for even more comments. As I said, I see John Small has joined us, Earl, and Derek, and we want more. Where is my Florida contingent? Where are my new friends from Arkansas? I see you all as my friend level continues to head up, and I'm looking forward to talking to you. So I'm hoping that you'll come on the show or send me a nice little comment, and then I can kind of react to you a little bit. Let's see here. Let's see if I got any more comments over on this side of the border, because Wow, the situation with my tablet, boy, that's disappointing. Because we got it rolling. But, um, you know, just in terms of my, as I said, my just talking straight through. Normally, this isn't the way I like to go, because this is two-way talk. And although I have a lot of interest and there are a lot of things, and then to top it off, to be honest with you, there wasn't much news today. A lot of times before I go on, I check the news, and I look for stories that are kind of interesting. And I'm really, even when I looked at the morning stuff, they're talking about what happened yesterday. And yes, we can talk about the mudslide again, which is tragic and terrible. And there's a lot of that still on the news, and people are talking about Donald Trump's comment, about the Haiti and African nations, and that's still on the news. But that, in my mind, it's kind of old stuff. I like fresh news. And on top of everything else, although I like to kind of fill the time talking about what you're interested in, to the extent that I'm going to talk straight through today, because the only way that I can kind of interact with you is that if you send me a comment, instead of coming on the show. There just simply wasn't much news, at least that I saw out there on the national stuff. So, although what I do is I make a little list here, of news stories and so on I'm going to cover, and you only can see my page, but not much on it because there wasn't much news. The big deal was the basketball, of James Harden and Chris Paul kind of pushing up into the LA Clippers locker room, looking for some trouble, and that was kind of the big news. But other than that, there wasn't much happening. So, in terms of being able to go down the news stories. And plus, we want to do things that are more global, national, and there really wasn't much of that at all. I mean, there are people who will talk about various things. You can talk about different things, that are kind of global. You can sit here and talk about climate change, or whether you guys believe that what they saw in the sky a month or so ago was actually an alien. Apparently there was some asteroid that landed on Earth, a small asteroid, and everybody's running to get it, to see what's on it, to see if there's any alien life on it. Could be microscopic alien life or something, which is really interesting, because a lot of times what happens, it's not unusual that we get hit by stones from space, but anything that's worthwhile on the stone usually gets burned up, coming through the atmosphere. So if there was life on it, we wouldn't know it because it kind of got burned up coming through the atmosphere. So it's interesting that so much emphasis was kind of placed on this particular situation. But also, as I mentioned, that probably I have a few more guests on the Chapman Means Business show. And I just got a little notice from a good friend of mine who's going to be talking about taxes. He may well come on tomorrow and talk about those taxes. So that would be great. And what the tax bill might mean to you. And he's an enrolled tax preparer and a CPA, and I'm sure has an opinion about which way to go with that. So we're happy to do that. If there are some other subjects, I talked a little bit about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin. There's so many ways that you can access it. You can actually get free Bitcoins. You can't get many of them, but you can if you go through what's called a Bitcoin faucet. If you look that up. Faucet, F-A-U-C-E-T, Bitcoin faucet. And through that, you might be able to access yourself a Bitcoin, some Bitcoins that you can kind of get started with. Heck, I've even thought about maybe launching a Bitcoin faucet for people. And how they work is that, how many of them work, is that Bitcoin gets paid, the faucet gets paid for people who click on certain advertisements. And so they have these advertisements set up on the faucet, on the web page. And if you click on those ads, then they get paid. And then they take a portion of what they make and they buy Bitcoins and then give those Bitcoins to you. And so what they're kind of hoping for and making the thing economical or profitable is that they can work on the spread. So they get so much money if you come on and click those ads and look at the ads, and then they give you something less than what they get for putting that all together, and you get some Bitcoins for nothing, for basically clicking on those ads. And if you Google Bitcoin Faucets, F-A-U-C-E-T, you will see what I mean. As I said, I thought about it, but only so much time in the day, and getting with some friends and maybe creating a different kind of Bitcoin faucet, because we're looking at different ways in which Bitcoin might be used. There are people who issue gift cards that pay in Bitcoin. Of course, it's limited as to where those Bitcoins are accepted. It's not as good as a Macy's gift card or an Amazon gift card, because there are only certain products right now that you can buy with Bitcoin. But still, the difference between a Macy's card and an Amazon card and a Bitcoin card is that someone may give you, let's say, most corporations can give you up to $25 in gift cards without it being an issue for them, and without having to post some tax issues, whether or not they're really giving you a gift or giving you salary, and if salary has a tax implication. But people can give you gift cards up to about $25. So if they give you $25 in an Amazon card, $25 in a Macy's card, or something like that, it's only worth $25. But $25 in Bitcoins, and if you it could go up in value. So $25 in Bitcoins today or less, it could decline in value. You could either not be able to buy as much tomorrow because the value went down, or you could buy even more because the value went up. You've got something that someone's giving you, let's say a gift card, thank you for the business that you've done with the corporation. It's in Bitcoin, and if the Bitcoin really rallies and goes up, then that $25 could be worth something more, 30, 40, whatever it might be. At the same time, if it's like yesterday when Bitcoin drops 10% in an hour, $25 might be worth, $20, 15, which is what it is, because the whole thing is free, because the client gave it to you as a thank you for the business relationship. So, but those are the kind of things that are being done out here, and it's interesting to see how many people really appreciate it. If you gave one of my elderly relatives $25 in Bitcoin, she would not appreciate it quite as much as perhaps one of my younger relatives who would know what to do with them. Kind of scour the internet and see what can I buy with this Bitcoin card, and that's what you do. You kind of Google who's available. What can I buy with this Bitcoin card, and then kind of make it happen. This laptop is kind of like not doing well. Not the laptop, excuse me, my little tablet. We'll shut this bad boy off and move on. Well, this has been like a technology challenge day. But again, I don't mind it, because it gives me, the more you have situations like this is how you learn, get experience, and I've just over just a long life now. I have seen how these situations are nothing to get angry about. I can't get to the cloud. If worst case, even if my backup had failed, life would go on. But fortunately, you know enough to be able to make the switch. And I still, what I cannot believe, what I still can't believe, is they haven't corrected the problem by now. So, must be something major. As I started calling them, like 5 in the morning, and here we are, and the 5 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, and they still have not corrected it so that I can get you to, even if they corrected it at this point, I would not stop the broadcast so I could create a link and put it out there, and so on and so forth, because we're in the final hour. So I still, though, if there are some things that you'd like me to talk about, since we don't have the two-way talk capability at this moment, just send me a comment, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm really happy to see people that I know, and people, new friends, some of my new friends, to see them join and kind of make it happen with me, and I'll help them make it happen, because a lot of them have things going on that I intend to check out, and to watch. Some of them have shows, some of them have interesting businesses that they project through having websites and so on. And I just enjoy going through and learning more about my friends, and so many of my friends are interested in business and making money. So I'm very interested in what they're doing. If they have this little supply company, there's one out there. I'm probably going to get a little cup here that says the we on it, and maybe has my username or Mornings with Nate. And I saw one of my friends out there. It looks like she's got a little company that does that. So I'll probably reach out to her to see if she can kind of be helpful. If any of you have any ideas on stuff like that you've already done it, send me a little text message, or rather, you can just send me a little comment, and then I would be happy to, kind of follow your directions. Hey, I see. Oh, this is a text message. You see, that's how I go back and forth. I got text messages. Tomorrow, Jennifer Breen just confirmed with me that she is going to come on probably around 8 o'clock. She's teaching. She teaches a number of different classes. She's a yoga instructor and other things. Looking forward to talk to her. She's one of my MIT people, and looking forward to hearing what she has to say. So she just confirmed on the text that she will be here tomorrow. So hopefully she'll be here tomorrow. If they don't correct this, if we don't get it going, she won't be here tomorrow because there'll be nowhere to get her in. But I believe they're going to have that all done. And she will be here, as well as my friend later on Chapman Means Business will be able to be brought in instead of having to sit here right with me. Just bring them in the way we did yesterday. For those of you who followed the Martin Luther King show that we did, we brought in my friend from Alabama directly in, at the fly up here, the way it was in the old days. And really, it's not even that. I mean, a lot of times now, in the past when I would do CNN or other things, I just basically, go over to the DC office and I'd sit in something that would have a gigantic green screen behind me. It wouldn't be gigantic, actually. Space would be much smaller than what we have here. And you see a little monitor to the left, so you try not to focus on the AM on TV. You just kind of focus on the camera, and you do your thing. So it was, but even that you don't have to do anymore. I don't have to go over to DC. They can just kind of link into my camera if they want to, and they can do. We could do it right from a webcam or something like that if they choose to. So technology really has come a long way, and it's certainly our hope to be able to leverage it. Oh, Danielle, Daryl Chapman just joined. Daryl, welcome. And glad to see you on board. As we were saying, you hear a lot about the fact that our regular service on the We page is down today. And the We page is what we use, what we kind of all come under the umbrella of. And so I'm broadcasting on my personal page. But tomorrow, and hopefully within an hour before Donnie launches his show, I hope that the We page is back up again. Just check it and see if the guys have done anything to get it back up. But as I said, it's not so much the We page. We page is up, but and that's a Facebook thing. But the whole broadcasting, the software that allows me to do split screens and accept people in remotely, that is down, and that's what we do on this side. So hopefully that'll be corrected. Not a good sign. We're closing into almost having the show done, and they have not come in to do anything. Who else do we have who's joined out there? Teresita Glasgow. Great. Welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to have you on board. And I'm hoping that that sounds like part of my new friends, new contingent. And as I said, normally we have the two-way talk format where friends can kind of join me. Certainly if you got some comments, I hope to see them. But even more so that when our software is working, that you can see in past episodes, I'll invite you in to join the show directly, just like two-way talk. In the old days, for those who have heard me say now perhaps a number of times, I used to do two-way talk radio. And on the two-way talk radio, what happens is, as you probably know, people call in and you kind of talk back and forth with them, which I enjoy because I enjoy people. And you've heard me say I'm constantly striking up random conversations with people, and sometimes people you look at people and you say, oh man, he's going to establish a conversation, or maybe why is he looking at me? And I'll say, hey man, nice shirt, or something like that, or hey, I like the the way you did that hair, the way you cut your hair, and I'll just start a conversation with folks, and so far so good. No one has seemingly taken it the wrong way, and I just. Somebody, hey man, how'd you get that? I like the way that guy shaved your head. I got an issue now. I used to have a gigantic bush, when I was younger. And even, believe it or not, young people think that this is a new thing of getting, the braids in their hair. But heck, we were doing that when I was a teenager. But now, not really enough hair to braid, so to speak. But this whole new look now of shaving your head, and that's as much as a conversation as back in the old days, kind of haircuts. What do you do to shave your head? What kind of razor do you use? What do you put the cream on first, and do you do it in the shower? I mean, among men, that's kind of a big deal. How do you do it without nicking yourself? Because I see guys walking around sometimes, and they got a little nick in their head. Certainly, I'm trying to avoid that. And so that's kind of a little bit of a conversation. I only say that to say, whatever subjects that you all are out there interested in, I like to hear more about it. And normally, we got the two-way talk format going. As you can see from past episodes, the split screen, inviting people in remotely. And we'll be doing that. Certainly, I've got guests that I'm expecting that part of the system to be back up tomorrow. And we'll be able to do that. But for today, and I'm interested to, too, we go from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. So I'll be here if, Lord willing, I will be here to do the broadcast. But it's interesting because what will normally happen is that, there's a notice that goes out when you first start. That Nate Chapman is now live. But when you go from 6 to 9, I'd be interested to know, for those of you who are out there, is there any further notification? Because if you don't know, you may not, if you didn't get the 6 o'clock notice, do you even know that I'm still here? But just for you all to know, I'll still be here, going from 6 to almost 9. Facebook allows you a maximum of broadcasting in any one segment for 3 hours. And so we try to cut it off before 3 hours. We don't want to be talking in mid-sentence. Facebook, cut you. Or for Facebook to say, we're blocking you because you consistently exceed our 3 hour limitation, so blocked. So we don't want that to happen. So we kind of cut it off a little bit before. But normally, we're inviting people in. We're doing the whole two-way talk thing. I've got a few news stories that I'll go through to kind of, let you know what's happening, at least from my perspective, and maybe, hopefully, to prompt a little discussion to see what you think. And I'm very thankful that many of you have participated in that way. And we'll have even more guests who will be coming in remotely that you'll be able to talk to them as well. Some very well-known folks that will be coming in, and you'll be able to talk to them as well and ask them your questions. So that is really normally how we try to do things. But today, because of something's happening out there in the cloud, at least as it relates to the cloud service that I use to help me with the split screen, haven't been able to get that rolling. So, I'm just happy to see people that have joined us, see the folks that are out there, see the number of views that we have going out there. And I just want to reinforce the fact that if you're out there and you like to have your own show, we're more than happy to help you. We've got the production set up, and all you have to do is kind of point your cell phone or iPad at yourself and do your thing. We'll add the graphics. We'll help you with the production part of it. We'll help you with the storage part, the uploading to other platforms, because we will be broadcasting. If you have an account on Facebook and YouTube or Instagram, you want to broadcast to all your platforms, we'll do that for you. And if you're interested and you want us to talk about it, because we do it very inexpensively, because we do it because we want to, and we keep it inexpensive because we don't want the big boys to come in and try to price us out of the market. So just call me and contact me through my email address, Nate, Nate, at thewe, THEWE, .world. Not .com, .world. And as long as you're not doing anything, some crazy terrorist stuff, we're not going to be doing that. Or as long as you're not doing any pornography or anything like that, we're happy to help you get out there within reason, always respecting the fact that if you got a show made up of just simply a half hour giving folks the finger, we're not really looking to produce that. There are others who produce that, but we're not kind of doing that. But if you're just cooking show or real estate show or something like that, or we'd love to help you get out there. And we've got our own following. We link in other people's following, so we can get out there in front of the hundreds of thousands of people. So happy to, I just kind of want to put that plug in there to let you know that that's available. And normally, on days where things are working, and that's always an adventure. That's why, I really had the idea of maybe doing it for other people, because I do have a tech background, in addition to a media background and accounting, business, a lot of other little things. And even for me, coming in and doing things, getting the wire, because, when you have tech backgrounds, some people are software, some people are hardware, it's just different kinds of saying, hey, I got a tech background. But I've always been a pretty good generalist, so I sling the wires or wireless or whatever we might want to do to kind of make it happen. And I am, I'm just curious. I keep checking on the other service. Not that I can do anything about it, because I have multiple cameras, as I mentioned. Now all hooked in through my fan page, and not fan page, personal page, and that's really what's happening. Although the site is still down, if you can believe it. That is what will happen, and that is why I'm a believer in having my own stuff on my own computers, because then I can control it a little bit. Doesn't mean I can't be hacked. I don't have, if someone really wanted to do what's called a brute force attack, it's kind of hard to resist that. And I'm certainly not looking for anyone to do it. But it is kind of on me to put the old protections up there so that no one could come in that would do that easily. So, but all that's just one more part of it. When you are in the production business, and also you're the talent. But later at 10 o'clock, Donnie Glover will be on with a guest. And then later tonight, Chapman Means Business will launch around 5 o'clock. And we'll be talking about the market today. I'm kind of interested to see how the Bitcoin market will affect the stock market. As you know, Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin dropped more than 10%, or about 10%, in an hour yesterday. So, people are always, is this the time to go into Bitcoin, and should I do it? Should I do it? I'm kind of thinking, I like Bitcoin, but I don't believe it's something that you should be putting a lot of money into. I like marijuana stocks, but I don't believe you should put a lot of money into them. It would be, if there was some type of Bitcoin mutual fund, which I guess people are thinking about, but that would be kind of a hard thing to put in a mutual fund format. You could probably take multiple different types of currencies, types of Bitcoins, and put them in a mutual fund. And then as different currencies went up and down, you get the collective benefit, of it. But, and probably some people are talking about that right now, because there's so many cryptocurrencies that are out there. But for the most part, if you ask me, when something like Bitcoin drops, I kind of view it as a buying opportunity, but not one to bet the farm in. Let's say I said to myself that I've got, as I said before, if I got $1,200 that I want to put into Bitcoin, I would not be putting it in. I would not recommend putting it in all at one time. I would recommend averaging it. And so, for those you say, well, who are you to talk about Bitcoin? One of the things people, a lot of you out there who I see have logged in, know me. Know my background as an ex-CPA, ex-investment banker, first person in the United States to hold 4 principal designations in investment banking. General securities principal, operating financial and operating principal, registered option principal, and a registered municipal principals. And those are all management level designations in the investment business. Registered investment advisor with the SEC. I've created mutual funds from scratch. I've run mutual funds, closed-end funds, separate management funds, funds for institutions. Done under bond underwritings in the billions. So not to go on. You can look at LinkedIn, a little bit of my resume on LinkedIn. You can see that. But then, even in Bitcoin, one of the things that I do is I study it. I take courses. I look at it. I try it for myself, and I try to, when I come out and I say something, to have as educated an opinion about it as possible. To say then that I would not bet the farm on Bitcoin. I would what's called dollar cost average it, and if I had a block of money, I'd be putting a little bit in at a time to systematically get an average price. So that's kind of how I would approach it. Now, if any of you have any comments out there, let me know. I'm kind of looking to see. I'm going to refresh it. Maybe I missed a comment or two that you guys have out there. Oops, it would help if I put my finger in the right place. And see if I have missed any comments that you guys might have out there. Let's see. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's see if there's anything that you guys have that I can answer as we kind of share this live streaming experience together. I don't think we have any comments. Maybe everybody's gone to work. But remember, you can always put me on your phone, take me in the car with you. And please share our stuff, share our broadcast. And if you like us, we'd appreciate it. Okay. Nothing new that I can see at this point. But Daisy has joined us. Oh, good morning, Daisy. You can see I was talking about my We Cup a little earlier. I was kind of putting it out there. There's so many entrepreneurs that are out there that I've noticed that come in, have their own businesses. Maybe some folks have already done it. Kind of gotten their little ceramic cup, with a personalized company message to kind of put it out there and just let me know, either comments or reach me through nate@thewe.world. People have already done that, but I am going to, in the future, do it, and looking forward to, hearing from the people that are out there, my folks. Oh, yeah, Daisy says, sorry I'm late. Now, Daisy, just so you know, we're not on the We this morning. There was a little technical thing with the We being on the cloud, being kind of unable to reach it. But no, you're just in time. We're coming into the tail end of the show, and we go from 6 to 9 in the mornings, and I was telling the story earlier of how I was running a little late, so I didn't end up stopping at my breakfast spot. So I'm still, fired up and ready to go, even though I didn't have any breakfast. That usually that kind of gives me the engine to kind of get in here and kind of do my thing, but an experiment. But because I got in here, I was able to see that things were not working as they were supposed to on the site that allows me to split screen and stuff like that. Software that allows me to split screen is all up in the cloud, and they don't give you the option, by the way, of putting it on your own computer. So you can't. It's not like saying, well, Nate, you have the cloud version, and you have the version that you can kind of download. They like, hey, you deal with us, you have to stay in the cloud. That's how we do it. And I can understand that. It's because if you get the software yourself, oftentimes you can tinker with it, and so on. But if it's in the cloud, it's a little bit tougher to tinker with. But at the same time, there are real advantages of having it in the cloud. Whatever computer that I might be at, I can kind of link into it and make it happen. Of course, whatever computer I might be at today, all it showed me is that This site cannot be reached. I mean, that's what it says here. This site cannot be reached. And then, I've run a little diagnostic program, and then it shows me that they're having issues with their DNS server. And not to get too, as I say, technical into it, but when you got problems with DNS, well, you pretty much are closed down until you solve them. And that is to solve a DNS problem. I mean, I won't go into all the things it could be, but that is, that can take you a minute, because so much of it is out of your control. You figure out where the DNS server is and all that. So someone has been messing with your domain name, IP address, your resolution. So that normally is what was happening with that, and hopefully they've got the people. This is not a good sign. Normally you got people who can remotely kind of come into your situation, top level people, and make it happen, but that has not happened so far. And in the next 10 o'clock, the Donnie Glover show will go. Fortunately, I think his guest is coming in. It's not a remote thing. I probably need to check that with him, let Donnie know if he's remote. Not a good sign this morning. And then beyond that, Chapman Means Business today, unless something happens that I'm not aware of at the moment, that today it is not going to be any remote guests per se. We'll be talking a little bit about the market, what has happened during the day, some of the news stories that have affected the market, kind of going through them from my perspective. So that'll be what will be happening. I always like to talk about making money. What I would do. For instance, people always talk about how bad Donald Trump is in a number of areas, but of course, in the stock market's done very well. I've heard many stories of people who are in the stock market who are making very good money because the market has gone up so much within the last year, and some of that is attributable to what's happening with the tax cuts. Because as you can imagine, if you are a company and you're making billions of dollars and you get a tax cut, that could mean hundreds of millions that flow to your bottom line without you having to sell any more product. The effect of that is that you have the ability to, and what the effect of that is that your stock price goes up, because the stock price is a function of your earnings. Your what they call the price to earnings ratio is what affects your stock price. So, therefore the stock market goes up. Now you say, well, what's going to happen with that money? Some people say, we'll take that money and invest it into expansion, if you can believe that. And if they start buying stuff, then that affects the economy, and that means that the market will go up. Oh, I kind of heard a little something here. Did I get a comment that I did not know about? Okay, let me check. Okay, now, I wasn't expecting to hear that little buzz, and I heard it, and nope, I don't think so. Wow, is that Marius that I see who is out there? Marius, one of the smartest people that I know, who I'm hoping to get on the show in February. Another one of my MIT friends who is over in Romania right now. So Marius, if you're watching, if this is indicative of your being who are watching the show, I want to say hello to you in Romania, and it's going to be interesting because I want to bring you in remotely, and our little remote service, if you've been watching, is not up to date, but hopefully on the day that you're here and every day in between and going forward, that it will be up. So happy to have you kind of watching this, Marius, as I can see from this. And in fact, if you look at my personal page and you see where I have Hungry Dogs Hunt Best, I mean, that's kind of an MIT saying that I pulled from my time up at MIT. But the characters that you see that are drawn on the site, Marius did them. And they were pulled from something that Marius did. We were up there studying discipline entrepreneurship, and the way MIT does it is through what they call discipline entrepreneurship, And the dean of discipline entrepreneurship is a guy by the name of Bill Aulet. And Bill wrote the book on discipline entrepreneurship. And these characters, like what you see on my personal page, are from Marius's designs of that book, which he further did. It was called a toolbox, the or Discipline Entrepreneurship Toolbox, where those characters came from. And I incorporated the whole Hungry Dogs Hunt Best because I always like that. That if you're going to get out here and you're going to make it happen in business, it is best not to be too comfortable. It's just best not to be too full. You want to be hungry. You want to be hungry. And you need, for whatever it might be. Some people are motivated by the one day having the Rolls Royces and all. Some people are motivated more negatively by things that people have said to hurt their feelings, and they're going to show these people, or people who thought they wouldn't succeed, they're going to show these people. Either way, if it creates a hunger, I think that's a good thing. Because the saying is, and if you were hunting an animal, hungry dogs hunt best. And so I try to keep myself hungry. I try to always be looking beyond what I have today, and that's kind of what I do. I dream of what can happen, and then I kind of work toward it to stay hungry. And physically, I try to stay hungry. That sounds kind of strange, but man, if you're sitting around with a full stomach all the time, it's kind of hard to kind of feel like you got to make it happen. Hungry dogs hunt best. But my point is that Marius was the person who did all that design. And we all kind of came together up at MIT, where Marius at that time was one of the MIT mentors. And I think still does some of the stuff all over the country. I've seen him in a couple of places. So you'll be a very interesting conversation. And he's got a very interesting business that he has created, and he's looking to hopefully develop. Basically, the company. We all know about virtual reality, and we all know that you can create a virtual reality image. But what if you could download yourself into virtual reality and live beyond your physical years? So let's say, for instance, if someone, if you have people who create images in virtual reality of themselves, and you download personal traits, and Marius will get all into this and probably much better than I'm doing, then that person you can still interact with even after that person has died. And so he exists in that virtual reality, and you can still talk to him, interact with him, and all that. And Marius is kind of, among his many talents, has created something like that so that we can kind of live forever. You've seen those, at least in virtual reality. You've seen those things where the robot gets downloaded the consciousness of a human being, and the robot then becomes the human being. So instead of that, what happens is that you basically are downloading what that person is into a virtual reality creation, and then that person continues to exist, because you can create a whole universe in virtual reality, trees and houses and everything, and so you can just have that person living in a place that he lives in reality, if you can imagine that, where you create, like my house that I grew up in, I could create that in virtual reality to look exactly the same way, and then a little figure walks out the door, looks exactly like me, and you see that, and you then you can kind of program it. If you program enough of that person within the figure, then he can have kind of an independent existence. So that is one of the things that MIT and Marius is doing, and I'm sure that he will explain it when we see him in February much better than what I'm doing, along with the other things that he's working on. Romania is real big in creating software. There are a lot of people, when you look at sort of software centers around the world, there are places in San Francisco and so on, but they're kind of expensive. So people will have software to create certain complex things like the virtual reality that I'm talking about, and they will create it in China, or they'll create it in Argentina's another place that they're real big. I'm thinking, I'm not so sure about Rio, but I know in South America they're real big on, and then some of the places, maybe Vietnam, real kind of big on creating software. But over in Europe, Romania, in addition to Russia, Russia's kind of big, but Romania has a tremendous number of people who are very good at creating software and creating programs. So Marius is from Romania and is over there right now developing a significant project, which I'm very much looking forward to being able to share with you and to kind of elevate, what your thoughts might be. Because what I found is that you might take what I just put out there and what Marius has put out there and took a spin on it and put it in a direction that nobody ever thought about and be able to take it to another level. So he's going to be coming in, and I'm kind of happy to see him in the chat and listening potentially to what we're saying, along with Jennifer Breen, who is another MIT person who will be here, and she'll be here tomorrow, and talking about what she's doing. Very talented person. In addition to what she does as she's a lifestyle of yoga and lifestyle of kind of an aerobatic entertainer. She has businesses that she has launched, and kind of interested to see where she is doing what she's doing now. And so I'm hopeful that you'll join me. She'll be here tomorrow morning. So it won't be simply me just talking on and on and on for 3 hours. To have some other people bringing some interesting things and different things to the table. Because that too, when you look at it from the investment perspective, if you're going to invest in something, quite frankly, investing in virtual reality would be a place where I would put a few dollars, because virtual reality is the future. It's the now, but it is also the future where you step into, through those goggles or whatever, maybe even other ways, into a virtual reality universe that you share with others, and they kind of, you interact with them as though you were there. It's one thing for me to bring you in to what we're doing now, which is great with the social media part of it. But can you imagine one day that you'll physically, we'll just do this whole thing in virtual reality, and you'll be sitting at the table right across from me, and we'll be chitting the chat that way, and everybody can observe us. So that is where things are going, and to a certain extent, things, some of that can be done right now. So, and that is where to put money, because that is kind of where it's going. And then that's going to have a real meaningful effect on things like transportation and others, because you won't have to necessarily travel to feel like you're really interacting. And even more than that, if you, let's say that I wanted to get together with a friend of mine, and he can come here, but we can also project ourselves, on the beach somewhere. We'll be enjoying our conversation sitting on the beach, our virtual reality figures. So it's a very interesting thing. So if you look at virtual reality and it's kind of the thing that goes along with it, what people call deep learning, all that kind of comes together with virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all that. That is a place where certainly I would be putting some dollars, because I just see more and more revenues. Nobody's going to do that for free. If you want to enter the virtual reality universe and all that, you're going to have to pay a little something. And those companies that are doing that, thinking about it, all that, are companies that I think you ought to definitely put some dollars into. And are companies that I'll give a chance to kind of bring on board, talk to you about where they are, along with things like robotics. You see a lot of robotics. We've got some major robotic companies here, and I look forward to kind of bringing them on so you can see what robots are capable of doing. And people kind of are fearful. Some people, artificial intelligence, that the more robots learn things, the one day, as we've all seen in the movies, that they become self-aware, and then they say, well, we're robots, we really don't need humans. I mean, we can kind of build other robots and make them self-aware and give them all the algorithms, download what they need. And so then they come to the conclusion that we don't need our masters. Who knows? You've got the guy, Elon Musk, who runs Tesla and SpaceX. He thinks that it's a real risk, and we should really be watching what we do. And he's really against the artificial intelligence because he believes that it could be very dangerous. The next thing you know, as you know, the one movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he is, where the guy comes back where the system becomes self-aware, and they want to do things like launch missiles and stuff like that. We're going to wipe out all the humans, and robots will be the only people who live and stuff like that. So, but that does not mean that people aren't moving in that direction. Just because there's some risk, people like Marius and others, that they're not moving in that direction. And you should know that because there's more than just watching TV and stuff. And I always say there's so much more happening. People put so much time into Donald Trump and talking about the Trump stuff, but there's so much more that's happening that we need to be aware of, and that's why we call ourselves the we, and how we can kind of become a part of it. So if you're someone that has a real estate company or a cosmetic company, and you say, well, maybe I can do something in the virtual universe, or maybe there's something some play that I need to start thinking about, and that's what I'm hopeful of doing. Well, look at that, looky here. I think we made it again. I've got 8:45. I usually try to cut it off about right now. And I want to thank you all for kind of bearing with me today. We had a few couple of things that were beyond our control, and on the other front. So happy to have you all with me. Happy to be a part of the we. And I hope you all are fired up and ready to go. The way I start my day, my friend was joking with me, Nate, you start, you do this thing, you're fired up and ready to go, which I'm a morning person. Yeah, because I wake up, jump out of the bed, let's go, kind of person. So I'm happy to have some other early morning people with me. So thank you for joining me with Mornings with Nate. I invite you to join me tomorrow morning from 6 to 9. We hope to have an interesting show, have to have some more guests, hope to be able to have our system up and rolling. So thank you all very much, and see you tomorrow.